I don't understand what's going on in America. And again, if you're feeling like, what the hell is the point of being a billionaire if you're going to, I mean, like, as much as Donald Trump talks about the Justice Department out to get him and witch hunt, here's a real witch hunt. The real witch hunt is Ben Affleck in an afro wig portraying you in a major movie that is constantly advertised during the Final Four. I would take a New York indictment over this 9, 10 times out of 10. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. If my choices were go to prison for a couple of years over sex with a porn star or having Ben Affleck in a curly wig, like how you let this happen if you're Phil Knight, how you actively signed up for this if you're Phil Knight, I have no idea. Like I assume it's just that Affleck and Damon ambushed him with it. Like he had no idea. He signed off. And then he's got to actually see what he's being made to look like. Like Phil Knight, I mean, hey, look, we all know you have spent your life torturing children in your Chinese factory. And that's going to go down as a much more positive note than this stupid fucking movie. Right? I would much rather have them had left Ben Affleck out and made a movie about what goes on in your Chinese factory than have Ben Affleck make you look like this.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubitz on this fabulous Wednesday. And yet, I'm already somewhat pissed, Lubie.
You weren't. I did it to you.
Yeah, you upset me, and a couple of other things are really bugging me, man. Don't have my New York Post yet. They skipped me yesterday. I was in a little war there where they were writing me nasty notes on the outside cellophane bag that the paper comes in because I had complained a couple of times, which I don't normally do. I feel really empathetic to the working man, as I'm still working here. And I was asked a couple of times, I had to visit that doctor yesterday about my wrist, and was asked a couple of times, are you retired? Is it retirement? What's that, man? I need the money, man. I need whatever we're making on this thing, and I need it to blossom soon. Otherwise, I will be retired somewhere in an RV sitting off the coast of Encinitas, hoping to catch somebody that goes by and offers me a free sandwich. That'd be nice. But other than that, so in nasty notes going back and forth, I don't want to complain. I really don't. I just want the paper to come, okay?
I know.
I understand there are days maybe the guy's sick or something, so I don't make a big stink about it. I usually, even if I'm talking to a representative, which is rare, would you like to speak to a representative? And if you say, yeah, they go, well, what the fuck do we do now? We don't have any representatives.
Exactly. It's like, oh, really?
You're calling a boiler room in Thailand somewhere. Find out if you can get your paper delivered by 9 o'clock, right? But anyway, so that it didn't come yesterday, not here yet today, which usually one thing leads to another in this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that? Things tend to spiral. They say they come in threes, bad things come in threes. In this case, as soon as you get skipped for a day, no matter what, you know that the next day is also going to be a problem. That's the way it works. Problem. So I might end up with a Wall Street Journal today, and I'm lost without it. I mean, you can see me working here, right? I'm fumbling. I got my little scribbling notes.
You have to do research. Usually the Post is your research.
Well, I mean, it enhances my normally in-depth research, Lubie. I'll put it that way, right? Because I believe this, and that was a big thing with program directors. They got like absolutely apoplectic if you didn't sit in the studio for like an hour before your show and act like you were looking stuff up. and they would have consultants come in and talk to you about, well, it's very important in this business, show prep.
Now.
And I'm thinking in the sporting world, you are constantly doing show prep. There is never a time that you're not doing show prep, especially for a show like this, right? Where you're thinking, okay, what's weird about this? I mean, you're looking for these things all the time, and you end up watching a lot of games. I do watch a lot of games or parts of them, and you can take in pretty much everything that happened within at worst a half hour of Sports Center, and you pretty much have a fix for all of the important things. And of course, I mean, a couple of seconds online, you can touch that up. But the post goes into more depth about a lot of stuff. That's what I like, and that's what's missing in a lot of sports sections today. That's why they suck. Because they don't have feature stories, they don't have depth there. They don't, give you the color illustrations that you're looking for from these announcers that Tony keeps defending. Tony Segreto, who, by the way, had to take a passeroo on a show today. What is he interviewing Zelensky for some documentary on Canes basketball?
He always has a lot going on, so we will miss our old school today. So sorry, no old school this week. Hopefully, it's back on the rails next week.
Well, and Tony would not appreciate your position on the sporting world today.
Oh, no.
He might want to comment on that circus that went on yesterday with old Donny Boy, who, I never in my lifetime have I seen a guy getting arrested being so celebrated, unless, it was like the boys hoisting a few before you went away if you were at some, Italian restaurant that served as a mob convention center also. But this whole thing was just absolutely farcical, and I don't know. It's a shame, really. I'm beginning to sympathize with Donald Trump. I really am. I feel this poor man is subjected to more persecution, and just unwarranted attacks than anybody I've ever seen. It's amazing, right?
Yes, that's the first thing I think is, wow, this person has really been treated poorly his whole life.
Yeah. And then, he goes into, they're all over this Angel Reese. What about Donny Boy? Talking about the judge. Yeah, his mother's ugly. There's your defense. I'll tell you what. That certainly assures me that you had nothing to do with this.
Nobody talks about the judge. It's
it's such a circus. It's beyond comedy now.
I love it. It makes me laugh so much.
It really is. What's funny is that you didn't think that Bananas was going to be one of those movies like 1984, was for George Orwell.
Telling the truth.
A book, yeah. I mean, you would have never thought that, wow, this guy was way ahead of his time. Woody Allen. I mean, as much of a pervert as he may appear to be to many people, in terms of not only comedy, but clairvoyance, Bananas stands as one of the most brilliant political movies ever made, does it not? Because, it's exactly what's happening right now. It's a circus.
I mocked you because I'm like, why do you want me to play? However, this is a long time ago now.
Oh, I told you to look up this speech, because it was appropriate for the Trump thing.
That's what it must have been like when he was starting to run, like 2015. Yeah. And I was like, so 8 years ago now, I was like, why would I look up this fucking Woody Allen movie? And then as I'm watching the movie to get the clip, I'm like, oh my God. Like, never mind.
Right, too. Cosell was in it. They have Chris Schenkel in that movie also. He might have done a little cameo. Old Chris Schenkel.
The clip we play is literally like,
it's exactly what's happening right now. Let's fly back to Mar-a-Lago on a 757, accompanied by 400 Secret Service guys. And, the people are there with the flags. They still want this guy to be president. And he didn't look so happy when he was sitting there in court with that schmutzy looking face that he had on. But it comes back. He's much more subdued, though. I think he sees that maybe the end might be near. No,
no. It's a guy. What do you mean? It's the last gasp. They literally. Which I don't understand how any of this is happening. Like when Bill Clinton was on the thing for getting orally pleasured.
Yeah, Monica Lewinsky. Yeah,
I wasn't like, oh, impeach the guy because I thought I didn't give a shit. But I didn't defend him. I was like, this is not good.
It's not a good look for the president of the United States. Like, you get a blowjob from an intern and then deny that you ever knew the woman.
Just be honest about it. Yeah. Like, it's like, I wasn't like doubling down. Yeah. See, it's what we want. It's a guy who just does what he wants all the time because he knows his power. Like, what? I'm like, no, that's not good.
You think George Washington did any of this stuff?
I'm sure they all did it, but what I'm saying is like the American electorate would have been like, that's fucking bad.
Like, oh yeah, at this point, this guy couldn't run for dog catcher and get elected. You would think if he was anybody else, but
I just think it's crazy. Like
it's very Koresh-like. I've been watching this Waco thing a little bit, not totally into it, but the Branch Davidians or any cult guy, Jim Jones. Where no matter what, it doesn't matter. They're just gonna follow along and say, oh, you know what, you poor man. I can't believe what they're doing to you.
I just think it's funny. Like they didn't take a mugshot on purpose because they knew he would try and make money on it.
Yeah.
Then they made a.
There would be T-shirts. Yeah, he'd be selling them for $47.
A fake mugshot and are selling T-shirts, and they're like selling out, and it's like, oh my God,
Pretty incredible, man. People are throwing money at this guy to become president again. And I haven't heard him mention one thing about any policies. All we're seeing is that some of the stuff that he did is absolutely backfired. Deregulating, what banks and was it banks and the railroads, whatever it was, led to all of this stuff, or seems to have contributed to it. Although you can't necessarily point a finger in Trump's face on all of this, but on these things, I mean, it seems pretty obvious that something went on there. I don't know if it's the greatest case in the world against a human being, but somehow, with his accountant in jail over his other business dealings and getting a very light sentence, I would have to say, right? He got like 5 months, although they said, you're going to do the time in Rikers. This is not going to be some daycare camp. All right? No Eglin Air Force Base. You're not going to be playing softball and eating spinach salads. This is Rikers Island. I don't know. Maybe they have them. Is there a special section of Rikers that is more accommodating and appealing than others? I would imagine that's probably not the case. Anyway, this guy's ready to start screaming like a canary, is he not? He's going to be singing. And, you would have to think that with him and Cohen and all of these other guys, and probably a lot of, Trump not very careful about covering his tracks.
No, that's my thing is he wasn't subtle about anything.
No,
it's like,
no, get right on the phone with Zelensky and say, we need Hunter Biden. Otherwise, no military aid.
It's like, I was not.
That's not leveraging the position, is it?
I did not. I've never. It's just a weird thing because I like growing up, I loved Clinton. He was really cool, and it was nice to have a president like that.
You wish he wasn't doing this stuff, right? Oh, Billy C.
Exactly. Obama was cool. Could speak. He actually gave it. It seemed like he gave a shit.
Oh, and seems that way today, does he not?
But I didn't have unbridled idolatry. Like it's a sports figure. Like it's not like I grew up idolizing them. Like
it's not like Larry Bird was president.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like I've never done that for a political person because I know down deep they all don't really give a shit. Like this idea that anyone, it doesn't matter, AOC, whoever it is, there are factions that are like, oh, no matter what they do, I'm behind them. It's like, no.
I got the feeling last night that all Donald Trump cared about was, fixing what's wrong in this country.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that. All right. If anybody else got that impression, I don't know how you came to that. Whatever drugs you're doing, I would like some. Much like when Dennis Rodman was on our show, and I've never seen a man happier in my life. And we had seen a variety of moods and personalities from Dennis Rodman. I mean, you talk about Sybil-esque.
He was there weekly.
That was Rodman.
For a while.
And there was a certain excitement. I mean, when you're in this business and you get, marquee guys or people that are really popular, or you think that they're somehow going to be interesting or revealing, it's great, right? Don't you get a little more excited than, some of those .com schmanks you used to book? Although a couple went on to, great fame and achieve great heights in the industry. Who was the guy with that, the stats guy that you had? That what was it? NFL. He was.
Aaron Shatsky.
Shotsky, whatever. Shots.
Not Shatsky.
What was this thing called? Outsider, NFL Outsider.
NFL Outsiders. Yeah.
I mean, a guy parlayed that into a pretty good deal for himself, did he not? Jerry Palm, a guy that used to be like in that .com schmank category. All of a sudden, I mean, you're thinking, oh yeah, we absolutely have to have this guy on the show. You're like, what? What did he do? All he did was try to figure out who was going to get screwed in the college championship series when it first came around. It was like, well, you know what? They're sitting there at number 5. I don't think they're going to have a chance. You go, okay, thanks, Jerry. Glad you came on the show. This reminded me now as I'm taking a look at the shot here, Lubie. You sure I don't look like my camera's on tilt? Because, that's the other thing. No newspaper. And then the cleaning ladies who always are under just the most adamant of instructions, explicit instructions. Don't touch a thing in here. Nothing.
Yeah, I would actually just close the door if I'm going forward. Because there's no one messing with my shit. That's the one, I let her come in, the people come in, and that's fine. Because my cat comes in here, so there's hair everywhere.
Yeah.
But they don't go near the desk. I don't need that. I actually either clear the desk totally because I'm on a remote, so then they can go to the desk. But if there's stuff on the desk, I don't want them near.
No, you look great. I look like David Muir, like my head is tilted. Now, there's a look that way to the people out there. Please, we need some feedback on the chat line on this.
Your hair's doing a thing, but I thought that was just your hair. Like everything in the back of you is straight. So I
Yeah.
figured that like that's
No,
all.
that's because I cut what little hair I have left off. So, but no, I mean, it seems like I'm not squaring up here or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Our people
I
are
look like those hurricane shooters in the paint there
exactly.
against UConn, where you're like, what? Where's the basket? Jim Larinaga is a great guy, man. I mean, okay, so here's the problem that we're having today. And not only did the cleaning lady, I think, tilt my camera, although I don't know that I can blame them specifically for this because I'm not sure. I might have bumped into the thing, right?
I don't know.
Walking around here like a zombie in the darkness or early in the morning, like, whoa, what was that? I thought I tripped over the dog, but I might have moved the camera. I'm not sure. But if it doesn't look right to you, let us know.
They look fine.
I'm not sure how I can fix it because to
You
get
know-
out there, then I would need somebody sitting in the chair, and I'm not sure I'm really that. It's not like I'm Scavullo or something.
I mean, you
I'm going to take a perfect picture here. I don't
look
think so. So we'll see. Those are two issues: cleaning ladies, newspaper delivery. I'm going to hammer this guy at about 7:30 if I don't have my paper.
okay.
I'm going to call in and ask to speak to a representative, and when they get a translator for the representative, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. Now, you can't be too harsh. I mean, look, will I live if it doesn't come? Yeah, of course. But it's one of those things, like, I don't know, with Passover on the horizon, and I don't want to cast any aspersions towards my own people, the Jews.
Okay.
But, a couple of things every now and then, when they throw that, like, cheapness, label, and I guess it would be penurious.
Sure.
Every now and then I think, well, how does that apply to me? I feel like I'm a fairly generous tipper in restaurants. I mean, always very welcomed by people that I've been served by before, and big hugs and everything. Because a lot of times, for example, I mean, at the Funky Biscuit, I'm in there on freebie tickets, right? So I'm thinking I would have gladly paid for the ticket. So let me give this money to the server, and I'll get like $100 check and leave the person like close to a stick.
Oh, wow.
So they're always very happy, right? But for some reason, I don't know. Like taxi cabs used to freak me out when the meter was going.
I hate that. I did it.
Even traveling on an expense account, it bothered me for some reason. I don't know why. Right? You're sitting there at a light in traffic in Manhattan, and you're not moving, and the thing just went from $3 to $8.
I took a cab home from the airport when I was in Atlanta because Shirley was working, and I'm like, okay, because Ubers were like $40. I'm like, how much more money could a cab be?
Yeah.
We were at like $15. We hadn't even left the airport yet.
Right. You hadn't even gotten your bag in the trunk yet.
We're by my house, and I'm like, it's still moving. I literally had the guy just drop me off like a mile from my house, and I just walked. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to add another $10 from here to my house. Like, there's no way.
For some reason, that numerology on the side of a cab always flipped me out a little bit, right? We were big statistical guys as kids. We knew every statistic. I mean, you could figure out batting averages almost right away, right? You knew that, a guy was, hitting 111 if he was 1 for 9, and you could do all the extrapolations based on that. 143 if you're 1 for 7, right? 286 if you're 2 for 7. So think about that, Luke. You only have to go 2 for 7 to make the Hall of Fame now. Have a 286 average. If you can hit, 30 home runs a year? 30?
Yeah. If you're doing 30 every year, then yeah.
Do you make it? No. Do you have to be able to field it all anymore? Does that come into consideration? I don't know. I don't know. But we can figure this out. But the numerology on the side of a taxi cab always flipped me out in New York. And I had seen a zillion of them. And it was like, at the time, I mean, it was relatively cheap, by today's standards, certainly. But it was like, maybe $1 for the first eighth of a mile.
Yes.
And you're like, eighth of a mile? Well, what are we, at the track?
You're like, what
We're
is that?
measuring this shit in furlongs? Are you kidding me?
That's 20 miles. I'm like, what
And every subsequent eighth of a mile was like another 10 cents. And you would look and you would see that. And it was all, printed very clearly on the side of the cab. I mean, there was a lot of transparency there. It wasn't like one of these deals where you get in a car and a guy goes, it's going to be $50. You're like, what? $50? I paid 30 last time. He goes, what year was that, Cat? I don't know. But anyway, I mean, we were pretty good. I mean, at figuring out that kind of math. But it always bothered me. And this is getting back to I don't mean to insult anybody on the Passover holiday because we're just philosophizing here a little bit. And but it always bothered me to have time left on the meter when I came back to a parking meter. Like if and now it's more defined, right? Where you get a ticket, a receipt, and it says you're good till like 1:59. Or now most people have it on a phone app. But ever since my phone was stolen, I've never been able to download that parking app for some reason, and it's a real pain in the ass, especially when we do some of our remotes, like we'll be doing tomorrow from Aruba, and you have to hit.
Oh,
Well,
man.
they have valet parking there. I may go that route. Libby.
Um,
I'm not sure. What do you
I'll
think?
probably pay for the parking, but you're not wrong. It's sort of annoying.
I don't mind. Look, whatever, man.
It's just annoying.
Now you have to pay to park everywhere, though. It's only a matter of time before you have to pay to park at the grocery store. What do you think?
Well,
Where some greedy pig landowner is going to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to cop $4 a car here while these people go in and shop for groceries that are already exorbitantly priced."
Yeah.
What are we going to do, Lubie? This world is coming to an end. We need Donald Trump.
Yes, that's it.
I'm all for Donny Boy, man. That was a bogus thing that happened yesterday.
Man, bogus. It's all lies. They pull it out of their ass.
Just out of nowhere, man. This guy dreamt up a whole thing and said, "Let me charge this ex-president with 34 counts of some bullshit." And then we'll make a big circus out of it, and then he'll go back to these people at Mar-a-Lago and go, "Hey, give me $10 million. I'll fix this."
I do
That's
like
right.
the New Yorkers. Like MTG thought she was going to pull her bullshit. And they're like, no, lady, get the fuck out of here. Like literally.
Oh no, she had a megaphone. She was
Nothing.
running up and down the streets there. She was out of control, man. I think I saw her driving one of those horse and buggies in Central Park, also.
She was supposed to have a rally, and they freaked her out so much because they're like, "Get the hell out of here, lady!"
They hate her there. Yeah,
that she like ran.
that was one of the greatest things when I saw when I think it was the Mets playing. Yankees were playing Houston in the playoffs, and Ted Cruz was at the game at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, they booed him.
And they were just giving it to him. That made me proud to be an ex-New Yorker. But anyway, time left on a parking meter bothers me. You know what? If I pay like when we go to even keel and I pay to 129, because we get done about 1:00, I'm going to hang out and talk to you guys for 28 minutes.
Oh, for sure.
Just so I don't leave any time on the meter. I don't know what that is. Is that a Jewish thing or is that just in general?
I'll leave like 10 minutes, but I'm not leaving you an hour and a half. I'm like, I don't give a shit what I have to do. I'm going to use at least an hour. Like
in this case too, the way modern parking is, fees are applied. You can't leave a carryover to the next guy. The next guy's got to, come up with his own fees.
Yes. Yep.
So if you paid an extra $2 to park, the city's just putting that in their pocket, and they still have the audacity to come around with some ticket writing schmink and write me up for $30 to, because I had one tire over the white line in a parking space in an empty parking.
Oh my God, I meant to tell you.
See, now that's persecution, my
I wanted
friends.
to take a picture the other day because it was the douchiest thing ever. And I'm like, is this the same parking lot? Because there was a dude in a friggin' SUV that was in the compact section.
Yeah.
He was in the middle. Like, I'm like, so Defo was literally just over because this guy was in the middle of two spots. Two spots was in the middle of it.
I generally curse those people out.
Yeah, but I'm like, how did Defo get a ticket for not even doing anything wrong?
Nothing. I mean, literally, my tire was barely over the white line, and they have a picture of it, right? Which I had imagined this brag has, with these checks that Donnie was writing, and supposedly for legal fees to Michael Cohen, which Cohen will say, "Hey, there were no legal fees. I didn't do shit for this guy. I didn't even wash his car. What are you talking about? All I did was give this woman $130,000."
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? It was comical yesterday, the whole thing, and the analysis, the paralysis by analysis. This is worse than watching the panel on like NBA Countdown, is it not? On ABC. I don't know. They don't even have like Barkley. I guess, it's, I mean, endless. All of these different theories that are being put out there. But look, I don't know. Is it something that the country really needs so badly to pursue? I mean, just get rid of this guy. Whatever. I don't know that he's ever going to do any time on any of this stuff. Do you? I can't imagine that they end up putting this guy in prison. But certainly just stay away from politics for a while. Wouldn't it be time for him to drop out? No. It keeps Ronnie Boy from getting elected, though. I think it's a good thing, Libby. I really do.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm.
Let's get into something more favorable. I just feel badly for the man that I mean, constantly under attack like this for no reason whatsoever. I mean, all he wanted to do was some good.
Yes, that's all.
And they're tearing him apart. I mean,
it's unjustified. 100%.
Yeah, his kids don't even show up anymore. They made enough money off his presidency to last several lifetimes, right? I mean, while they're building houses on Indian Creek there, where I mean, mowing down Shula's old home and saying, "What a dump! Hey, let's put up a new one here with the money we made with Jared Kushner over there in Russia, right, or whatever it was that he was doing." All right, we don't want to get too heavily into that because we can only be opening ourselves up and subjected to great criticism. I cast no aspersions. I am Jewish, but these were things that bother me. Taxi cab rides. I don't like not getting my newspaper because even though it's like $3 a copy, it's just the principle of it, right? You're paying for a service. This is America. You're expecting it to show up. Delivery happens to be the easiest thing to get right now. Every day, another package shows up at my house, right? I check it for anthrax, and then after that, I give it to the Mustang and say, "Hey, whatever it is that you bought online last night, it's here today."
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Remember, you used to have to wait like a month, to get something in the mail.
Oh, for sure. At least
If you bought something, there was no online, obviously, but if you call the the 800 number, and there weren't even 800 numbers. If you happen to get through to somebody and they said, "Okay, allow a month for delivery," and it came by mule train. Now they got these Mercedes vans. I mean, and Bezos dropped a slot as the richest man in the world. Unbelievable. Fell behind some Frenchman.
No, there you go.
Who was making like champagne. All right, so the champagne corks that could have been popped last night. What do we do? Well, we went about a half hour here and haven't even gotten to the sporting scene. You want to save that, for a moment here?
Okay.
So I can go outside, see if I got my paper before I make this call. I may have to make the call on air.
Okay.
Because, you have to get it in before 8 o'clock or they don't pay any attention to you. And you go through the same nonsense the next day. It's crazy.
I can call them and then they can be a guest. You can just do it on the show.
I don't know if that's legal, is it?
I have no idea.
We would have to inform somebody that they were on the air.
Sure.
Or else get Michael Cohen to cover it up for us by, immediately contacting this guy Pecker, oddly enough named, and appropriately named, who was running AMI, is it, the company that publishes the National Enquirer? Where Trump was spending like $250,000 killing any number of stories. Imagine that's part of your agenda every day as a president of the United States. Make sure this woman doesn't say a word about what we did at the Playboy Mansion. And, they're all selling their story to the Enquirer. And, just out of nowhere, I mean, again, the persecution comes and it casts a shadow over an otherwise great man. It's a shame. All right. Hialeah Park. There's no shame there. I mean, they are doing a great job. And you talk about a perfect symmetry, a perfect fusion of old and new. That's what Hialeah Park has accomplished. I mean, they still have all of the beauty that was inherent to Hialeah Park that always made it a great place. I mean, you felt like, wow. I mean, is Thoreau putting out the racing form? I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, like utopia. When you walk onto the grounds there. Lubie, I still believe, I don't know, you're doing well. So maybe you made the right move there by going to that, flea-infested place in Homestead. But would it have been... I mean, the beautification of the wedding would have been enhanced greatly by going to Hialeah Park, no?
I tried. It was actually a runner-up.
Yeah.
And she had an exact destination in mind. We ended up going to that destination. Hialeah Park is nothing like it. And
what was it? The pink cheese sticks that attracted you to that place?
No, she wanted a barn. She just had the idea of
a barn.
A barn, and Homestead has like 12 places that have barns. So,
did you ever have sex fantasies about getting laid? Like in a barn situation, on a bed of hay.
No, my lone sex fantasy is to have sex in the middle of Bill Campbell Stadium. It can be empty.
Really? Wow.
People cheering me on. It's not like some weird voyeurism thing. I just would love to be on the 50-yard line and
pounding some chick. Unbelievable. And in this case, I mean, I don't know that you would disgrace the lovely Shirley with holding the distinction.
If it's empty.
Being the woman in that scene. How do we get on this from Hialeah Park? Because you should have gotten married there, Lubie.
It was the runner-up. It was nothing like what we wanted, but they did such a great job selling it, Frankie, and they do such a great job there that I almost got her. I almost got her.
You run into Frank Fiore anywhere, and whatever it is that he's advocating, I'm behind 100%. Aren't you? I mean, the guy's just a great guy. Unbelievable. I mean, a real sweetheart. Every time you see him, you feel good about life. And that's how you feel when you walk into Hialeah Park.
Yep.
You feel like, wow. I still do. I really do get that feeling. I know it sounds like bullshit that you're, making it up because, you're doing an endorsement, a testimonial, a little place. But when I walk in there, I had so many different experiences there when it was in the heyday of racing back in the 80s. I got here in 81, and naturally one of the first places I visited, I think the two first places I ever went were the Fifth Street Gym and Hialeah Park.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's about right.
You think I was, inclined to follow my instincts, into horse racing and boxing, and look, it worked out well for me, because I managed to make a living doing both of those things and covering both of those sports for a long, long time. So it was great, and you know what, you couldn't have any better contacts and relationships than you had with the people. It was great to be inside like horse racing and boxing, because the people were all characters, man. It's fantastic. But they have a lot of character at Hialeah Park, and they've managed to. I mean, you talk about going through like bitter warfare, and I don't know that they were being persecuted by the people in Tallahassee, but they certainly weren't being done any favors during that period of time, and they persevered through all of that, and it's sort of the same spirit you have when you walk in there. You're thinking, yeah, the grand old lady of horse racing is still here, but now it's like a fantastic, upscale casino with all of your favorite Vegas style games. Then on top of that, they got all of this music going on and festivities on Friday, Saturday nights that are open till 5 a.m. because Florida still can't get it right when it comes to gambling. What's the difference of those 4 hours? Are you saving souls? Like at 5 a.m. They have to close down and open up again at 9 a.m., which is obviously sparing America from going broke, and becoming degenerate, sick gamblers. No,
Obviously.
that's what we're all about in terms of making laws. No, it makes no sense because people are having fun there. You never want it to end at Hialeah Park. Poker Room is great. A dynamite place to catch the Triple Crown races, which are coming up here. I mean, you got the first Saturday in May. What? A month away, and maybe this Forte is the real deal. That's possible. There could be somebody else out there, but you were out there for the Kentucky Derby. Last year?
Yes.
Last year, right? We were out in Hialeah Park, and what did they have? Did they have a boxing match the same night?
Yes. That was the last time they did boxing before this most recent one.
What a brilliant idea, man! That was great. Another tremendous Frank Fiore creation.
It was a blast.
And we couldn't have had a better time, man. Everybody was yelling and screaming and having a great time. It was like being at the Derby. And then you look outside and you're like, wow, this was a scene of many, many a thrilling and historic occasion in thoroughbred racing. So the old and the new fused perfectly together. You're going to love it. Get a player's card. All kinds of rewards, programs are out there. But this is among the best, and especially an independent casino. I mean, it's just incredible what they give their customers and their patrons. They really appreciate the clientele. Food and drink off the chart and not at ballpark prices. Not going to be paying $13 for a beer like I did the other day at a casino that I was at, and thinking, what happened here? I wasn't 13, but ended up being 10 because I knew the bartender. But they just treat you right at beautiful Hialeah Park. And if you're getting married, if you do it again, Lubie, I don't think you're going down this time.
Doing it again. No. This is forever, or I'm going to be single. I'm going to be Jersey.
I said that.
Yeah, I don't
did it
know
again
with you. I'm not doing a third.
I couldn't stand the freedom and the euphoric feeling I had every day when I woke up. That inner peace that you get when you realize I got nobody telling me nothing to do. All right, we haven't gotten into the sporting world yet. I'm going to go out and check and see if I got my New York Post. I'm assuming no on that. What do you say, Lubie?
Yeah, I would say no.
No, 2 days in a row, stiff job,
Yes.
and we'll see. And we're not going to tolerate much more of it. So I may have to deal with that on the air, and we'll come back. And then we had a trifecta last night, South Florida victories, and Lubie managed to pan them all and say, what good is it anyway? Which is a typical philosophy that a lot of sports fans have. So I enjoy talking about it. I mean, I don't know that I subscribe to it, but, you had 3 teams win last night. Supposedly, I guess, for the Heat, you would consider this a crucial game. Brooklyn Nets lost. So, they move closer to the possibility. Only 1 game back with, 3 to play, right? 1 game back, 3 to play. To see and look, we were talking about this. Does this not add like an element of suspense to the regular season for a lot of different people? But because they expanded the playoffs and bastardized the playoff system to the point where you could finish 10th in your division are in your conference and still be in.
Yeah. Oh, it's
10 of 15 teams, right?
made it interesting. Like, it's made it entertaining. I can't lie. Like, all these teams are still playing for something.
What would this mean to the Miami Heat that they beat the Pistons last night? It would mean nothing if they were sitting there entrenched in 7th place, except still don't have the voice for that. So you might have to hit the sound effect. Except you don't want to be in the dreaded playoff game because anything can happen, right? Jimmy Butler could throw a shoe like he was Secretariat, and all of a sudden, here comes Onion. Oh, my God. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Hialeah Park, though. Check it out. If you are planning any kind of an affair, man, look online, hialeahpark.com. Get in touch with the people there. They are great. The customer relations people at Hialeah Park, really, really superior. And they'll take care of you, right? They had Lubie convinced. Shirley was holding out for a barn. Why didn't you just get married in the barn area there?
If he had
There
shown
must still be some, semblance of what was the fabled barn stable area there.
probably. We didn't go that far.
Yeah.
I would have. The wrong guy.
You could have gotten married right where, or like Creme Fraiche took a shit before he went on to great fame, winning the Belmont Stakes after campaigning at Hialeah Park, or any of the great Woody Stevens horses. Unbelievable, right? You could have done it right there at Hialeah Park, and it could have accommodated even your most bizarre of wishes, Lubie. How about that? All right, we're coming back with more here on the Defo Show. Well, we'll get into all of this stuff that happened last night here on the local sports scene, and Lubie will dissect for you its relative significance.
Oh, that I have a problem doing. Yeah, I'm all in.
You love this, yeah, because you like to denounce everything. Man.
I love to bash it.
You're calling a judge a mofo, right? Right after that whole incident that you had on the air with your brother,
Yes.
which I hope went away. I mean,
still ongoing.
Of course, because you're Mike Lubie Lubitz. You're not.
Yes. If I was fucking Trump,
Donald J. Trump.
Exactly. And he actually did shit. My brother did nothing.
That Tacopina man has the face of a bulldog now, does he not?
I love it. I love that he has no problem doing all of this stuff, and it's all above board, which is even.
Yeah, I mean, why do they keep going after this guy? He did nothing. Unbelievable. Yes. What is wrong with this country? Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:39. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Please stay on the line to make a selection. Thank you for your understanding.
If you are calling about a newspaper subscription, say subscription.
Subscription.
If you are calling about... Please listen closely, as our menu options have recently changed.
This comes from the great Defo Llama. It's the Betsy
need assistance with.
report a delivery issue.
Hear me.
We
I
apologize
am
for
your new
recent
president.
delivery issue. To
From
report
this day
the
on,
delivery issue and
the
have your
official
paper
language of San
redelivered
Marcos
or to receive
will
a
be
credit,
Swedish.
we will need to gather some
Silence.
information.
In addition to that, all
The name
citizens will
associated
be
with this
required
account
to
is
change
yes,
their
report.
underwear
Is this
every
correct?
Yes.
hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside.
We apologize for your recent
So we
delivery
can
problem. You are
Furthermore,
eligible for redelivery of your
children
paper later today.
Under 16
To
years
accept
old
your redelivery,
are
say
now
redeliver.
16
Redeliver.
Or to receive a
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket? power has driven
Your
him
paper
mad.
will be
Welcome
delivered
back
later
to
today.
the Defo Show.
To go back to the main menu, a representative.
Did you get all that?
I didn't get any of it, but did you finish? Are you still going?
Yeah, no, I'm done. Supposedly the paper going to be redelivered. You sure I'm not on a tilt here? People tell me if I'm on a tilt.
4 different people have said you're not.
Not on a tilt. So what am I seeing that you guys aren't here? I think Leslie Visser says I am on a tilt. But I think she meant that in a way of being mentally twisted. No? Because what we're about to do, I think, is a disgrace here, Lubie. I really do. I want to separate and distance myself from all of this. Okay?
You can be happy if you want. You can.
I'm going to have Dershowitz defending me. Well, no, maybe that's a mistake at this
I was
point.
going to say he's gone full
Yeah.
Friday loon.
There was still those intimations. Who put that out there about him and Jeffrey Epstein? I'm not sure. But it wasn't pretty, man. It was worse than Bobby Kraft getting caught in that Asian spa there in Jupiter. I mean, imagine that in Jupiter. That's crazy, huh? Jupiter, you don't think of that sort of thing, do you? That, well, I guess, you would have zillionaires there.
Yes.
But, that they're going to be in some cheesy strip mall Asian spa getting a blowjob. That's crazy. That's the second time we brought up blowjobs on the show here, Libby. I'm not sure, if that's an indication that, we're going to eventually go in a very sordid direction here. All right, we're about to do something that I am ashamed of here. And that is, and we have this thing on 5 Reasons Sports Network, in addition to segments of this show that air there. But we have a new thing called Defo on 5, as in on 5 Reasons.
Yes.
And there's an implication there that it should be / with
Mike
Lubie
Lubie. I make a Defo with the Defo on 5 with Lubie because you seem to want.
Oh yeah, they switched that up. Oh, good.
I'm in control of it. I'm in control of everything we do.
Well, then I'm surprised you don't have top billing. As you have a tendency to grant yourself, the Lubie Show with Jeff Defo DeForest, which is fine. I don't care. I really don't. Get any particular buzz out of. Top billing or blast, it doesn't matter because we're just in here to have some fun. And we get a night like last night. Oh, what a night. I mean, for the local sports enthusiasts, the 7 people that were at the Marlins game, I mean, they got treated to exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, we can do a reverse and just be really happy. What a great night of South Florida sports action. Yes.
Everybody won.
Yeah, hallelujah.
This is the day that somebody circles all of the horses in your racing farm that are going to win. And guess what?
They win.
At the end of the session, you're thinking, who was that guy? Right? Some old guy on a train says, hey, you mind if I look at your racing farm? And you're thinking, yeah, I do mind. But here, I don't want to look like a dick. So here, you can take a look at it, right? Because nobody wants you looking at their racing farm, do they? Lubie, have you noticed that? I mean, I don't know if you've picked up on that. Because you're not in, degenerate mindset.
People are really weird about it. Like you guys.
Hey, you borrow almost anything else off me, but I really don't want you taking my racing farm. And yet I don't feel badly about taking somebody else's racing farm, and then just it depends what kind of a pig you really are when it comes to this sort of thing, Libby. No, it really does, because I mean, some people, right? I mean, they just take advantage, and immediately take over. I mean, whether it's a racing farm or. Maybe they borrow something off you and they say, don't worry, money, for example. I mean, I guess would be a good one, would it not? Mm-hmm. Guy borrows $150 off you and says, hey, listen, I'll have it back to you tomorrow. And tomorrow you don't hear from the guy and he doesn't answer your calls. Exactly. It's okay. I know you're full of shit. Exactly. All right. And that you may never pay this money back. That's fine. I gave it to you under this pretense that there's a strong shot that you never address this again, and our entire friendship blows up over.
That's why you don't loan money. You give money, and if you get it back, cool. But you assume you're never getting it back, and then you
never right
out of the bullshit. Yes.
I talked to a guy. I guess I eventually did get this cash back. I talked to a guy I hadn't spoken to in years the other day. And it still bothered me that he was reluctant to give me back the $2,500 I sent him, which was the last cash I had at the time.
That's a lot, yes. That's why I wouldn't give people that much money, because I give only the money I can afford to lose, because that's how you lose friends.
Yeah,
lose a friend. But that's
right. I mean, it really is right out of a Bronx Tale, right? I mean, if that $20 got this guy out of your life, then what are you bugging him to get it back for?
Yeah, it was worth it.
Kind of crazy, yeah. But I mean, that's the kind of situation where we're about to put ourselves in here. Is that we're going to do something that we dread,
I don't
like lending money.
You dread it. I don't. It's what I've done my whole life.
But I dread it more. Somebody poaches your racing form. Are you with me, people, on this? Is there anybody in agreement with me? I think Andy would agree with this.
Sure, Andy is. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a stretch.
Guy's at the track. He's at the bar. He's too cheap to pay the $12 for the racing form, which I have often been that guy. Okay, so I know exactly. I mean, if you walk into the fifth race, Louis, say this is a kind of strange thing that you ask yourself, why am I thinking about this? I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there. I'm going to buy a racing form. I'm going to plop it on a bar, and I'm going to hope nobody picks it up, right? Especially some slimy guy that you really don't want to talk to. I mean, so you don't have these kind of experiences because I don't think you're out at bars much, but you might have been in the past, right?
Oh yeah, I spent my whole life going out until I was like I hit my 30s.
Well, we're the last guy. I mean, not a bad guy or anything, but he's kind of the last guy you want hovering over you the entire day.
Hate it.
And he comes over and immediately grabs your racing form and says, "You mind if I look at Oakland Park?"
Oh my god.
And you're like, "I wish you would move there, you fat fuck."
Get out of here.
But I mean, being Defo, Mr. Minor radio star, and now streaming along with the rest of the world. You don't want to look like an asshole, so it's like, oh no, yeah, sure, take my form. Look at it as long as you want, Charlie. And then some people will just, like they walk off.
Hey, and that's my thing is I'd be like, no, come here. Like you're nicer than I am. I don't mind being a fuckhead. What do you mean? I got into it with a guy yesterday, and I feel bad. I hope he still watches us.
What happened?
I was yelling.
Oh yeah, you were in some argument. I couldn't quite catch that.
I hate you and I have talked about this. I think that's the most bogus. And I shouldn't have said dumbass. I should have said bogus. But because I used opinion. I didn't say you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of dumbass opinions myself. To me, it's a dumbass opinion. And it's the Northeast has this idea that they own great fandom. First of all, I've seen plenty of Sixers, Phillies, Eagles, and Flyer games where no one's there. Even big games. This idea, well, 1991, the Dolphins had a playoff game that was blacked out. Yeah, what about the last 20 years? Because I'm telling you, I went to games in the early 2000s where the Dolphins had no shot at winning, and they were fucking slammed. So that's like...
the Dolphins are a well-attended franchise, I believe. Florida. Yeah, it may not be sellouts every day, but
this idea
it's close, yeah.
Florida fans suck. They're the worst. No, that's bullshit. If you want to say fans...
Payne's football didn't get the kind of crowds that you would anticipate, even in the heyday. I mean, they had plenty of games. Some of those games against East Carolina and Bowling Green, I mean...
TCU.
Yeah, and lately, I mean, look, they pretty much have to pray that Mario Cristobal has some success, or you're going to see a very empty Hard Rock Stadium.
Empty. But anyway,
after this year, if this year is as deflating as last year, you're going to be looking at
they're in trouble.
We're a group of non-believers here in South Florida. I think the sun, kind of saps the inner strength that you have to believe right out of you.
Well, you're going to get into it about.
If you want to get into it from more of a global scientific standpoint.
There you go.
Anyway, so this guy's saying that we have lousy fans here and the fans are great somewhere else. That was the argument?
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't add the last part, but that's what he's intimating. He said South Florida has the worst fans. And that bothered me because I've watched plenty of fans from great sports markets suck. Like Chicago fans don't support the Bulls. Atlanta fans didn't support the Braves or the Hawks. Plenty of New York fans were not going to Met games. Okay. So to me, I just hate that idea.
We are a strange fan base, though. I mean, and a strange, very strange sports market. I mean, I think anybody would agree with that. It's very different here than it is, I believe, anywhere else in terms of, the way people relate to their teams and the amount of loyalty. What we have here, I think, and this is another idea that I got from the great Eddie Kaplan. It's not that we have, bad sports fans in South Florida. It's that we don't have enough, good ones, really. Where the Marlins have like a fan base of 3,000. And they're loyal. They're great fans. I mean, they go to these games even though nobody else cares to witness this, sort of pathetic, non-hitting garbage that they've been putting out there for the last several years after looking like they had accomplished, a dream team at one point, right? They got Stanton and Real Muto and all of these guys that are just, playing dynamite, lights out baseball. Ozuna as young players, Yelich. Unfortunately, Jose Fernandez, met with, you would have to say, and I'm not sure that there, is ever a great use of this, but an untimely death, Lubie. Is any death timely?
When you're 95, like I'm not gonna be mad if I make it to 95.
95, yeah. I mean, you would have to take any number in the 90s.
Yeah, and I know your mom got there and it was sad when she passed, but you know what? She went out on her own terms. She lived in her late 90s on her
Yeah,
own.
she was still bitching about the parking at Century Village,
So,
even though she didn't have a car.
that's a nice, I can't.
Nice Jewish mother. That was my mom. Yeah, no, she really,
That's a good number. Like
many of the stereotypes were exhibited by my mother. But not in a bad way. I mean, that's just the way people were, especially like, European people, which, she was from Germany / Poland, right there in the free city of Danzig. All right. So we're going to get to this, though. I mean, this is a disgrace. And your dissection, we managed to kill almost an hour here without even addressing the
teasing on nothing.
big 3 local games that took place last night here in our market in South Florida. And we had been, I mean, already the towel was in. Like you were talking mathematical elimination with the Miami Marlins, were you not? Do they come into this? They leave spring training. They enter spring training mathematically eliminated. You would have to think. No matter, how much optimism you may, fuse about, the Marlins and what they've done. They're also a byproduct, I guess, of having had like no game plan for how many years now. Where the game plan was one thing, but it clearly didn't work, and now you have new guys trying to do what? What is it? Is there any defined philosophy or approach that this current regime has? Lerner, the owner, and Kim Eng, and whoever else is involved in an executive sense.
Oh, Sherman, the owner. I'm like, who's Lerner?
Sherman, yeah. What am I saying? Lerman. Lerman was my lawyer in a case in California. We called him Lerman the German, and it was probably, He ended up, this guy, Steve Lerman was his name. I had been, sort of, detained for potentially growing weed in my backyard when I first moved to California. It wasn't me. It was my roommate. It really was.
You weren't even doing it.
This sounds Trumpian, right? I mean, but, the other guy was doing it. I wasn't, it wasn't like I wasn't aware of it. And next thing you know, we're getting arrested.
Oh, geez.
So I got this lawyer named Steve Lerman. And he essentially does nothing for me for like $1,500. But, it turned out that these cases went to a thing called diversion, which we have here in Florida in certain cases. And so, if you pass like some probationary period, like 6 months and nothing happens, they drop the case. And I guess the record is expunged. Okay. So there's like no record of any of this, and no harm, no foul. It was really like Chick Hearn was governing the state of California. It was great. Anyway, this guy, Steve Lerman, ended up being a lawyer for Rodney King later on. I mean, he was a neophyte at this firm where a friend of mine had recommended a lawyer, and the guy who was running the firm was this guy's brother, and he immediately palmed me off on this case to some subordinate who knew that he was going to make one telephone call and the whole thing was going to go away. It was great. But that was the story behind Lerman. Bruce Sherman is the guy.
Yes.
But we don't know this guy anyway, right? If you passed him, if you were in line in a grocery store behind Bruce Sherman, would you know it?
Oh, no.
Talk about invisible in terms of ownership. Not that it's necessary for the owner to be, like Mark Cuban and be front and center to be effective. I mean, what we see this, Mickey Arison isn't exactly in the way of the Miami Heat. You would have to say they run a very successful franchise over the years. You can't win it every year. And sometimes, a team snookers itself, even with the sharpest of executives. Fair statement? I mean, here's Pat Riley. He's been snookered a few times and maybe even snookered himself right now. I don't know what his plan is to get out of this.
I mean,
if you want to be, competing for the 6th and 7th spot, you've got the team, no?
Yeah, and they don't want that. I mean, they're gonna.
Or is this just an aberration of a year? What happened here, Lubie?
Okay. So watching it last night, I finally got what I've read so much, and from Scoop with 5 Reasons and different NBA people. Like, you can play the worst team ever if you're wide open and bricking threes, and you're doing that for an entire year, which is freaking weird. Then it doesn't matter who you're playing, and it almost doesn't matter who's playing for you. Like the Heat last year led the NBA in 3-point shooting. They're this year bottom 3. They didn't lose it. PJ Tucker wasn't a top 5 3-point shooter for them. They lost none of their 3-point shooters. They retained all.
Tucker was reliable on the corner shot. He
fine.
probably shot a higher percentage than whoever it is that is taking up that role now. What happened to Duncan Robinson? Did he go blind in one eye? I mean, this guy was a good shooter at one point.
And they barely play him.
Yeah.
Robinson, Struz, Hero, their 3 best 3-point shooters are still there, yet none of them hit the side of a fucking barn. And when that's the case for a whole year, and it's a weird aberration, like it changes everything. It's changed the whole season, and they went from being a 1 seed to a possible 6 seed.
Why do I feel like I'm watching a men's 50 and over league when I see Cody Zeller out there, especially with a mask? Doesn't it look like something you would see at the Poznak Jewish Center? I mean, okay, 50 and over. No, we're playing running time, which is that not the most obnoxious circumstance that you could play a game under when you're playing basketball in some league and they go with running time? So if the ball ends up going outside the gym and rolling down the hallway to the men's room, the time is still going in the quarter. And it seems like you hardly played at all. I didn't even break a sweat, man. I don't know. I skipped the beers tonight. I didn't really, shake off enough water weight to drink, more than a pitcher. That's it. I guess you shouldn't be drinking more than a pitcher anyway. All right. So we don't know what happened here. All of a sudden, mysteriously, everybody went in a tank at the same time. A great shooting team became a very poor shooting team.
Yep.
Defensively, no juggernaut, I don't think.
They're abysmal now.
Yeah.
Also,
and the Detroit Pistons with 5. The Detroit Pistons can't. They can't afford to sit 5 guys, can they?
Oh, you didn't think so?
I mean, who's playing for them? Bill Laimbeer, John Sally coming off the bench.
They played a bunch of the Wiseman kid from the Warriors has looked good there. Ivy, their rookie, has looked good. But you're right. I forgot about Cade Cunningham because he doesn't play.
Cade Cunningham doesn't even show up in the did not play.
It's 2 straight years. Like, what a waste of a first.
What's wrong with this guy? Do we know?
I don't know, but I didn't know he had anything that should keep him out every night.
Disappeared from the planet, man. Milk carton. He's on. Never mind the All NBA second year team. Showed some signs of life. I guess, like you said, and there's no guarantee here. This Wembanyama or whatever his name is.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Wemby.
And where is this guy now? Like playing in France? Where the hell is this guy?
Is it the G League? I don't know. He's from France. I thought he was in the G League, but maybe
I'm not sure. You know what? I would have to say I've seen like maybe a clip or two, and a guy obviously looks like a freak. What is he? 7'4". He shoots the 3, and then has moves like Hakeem Olajuwon.
He's 7'4" and plays like a wing. It's really insane.
Well, that'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think all teams should be in the lottery every year. That would make more sense, and then there would be no incentive to tank. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, look, we used to have 5.
If the number 1 team gets really lucky and with like a low percentage of ping pong balls ends up getting the number 1 pick, so be it, man. The Warriors get Zemby or whatever. Some dynasty continues to persist because they continue to prosper in lucky spots, right? I mean, look at the Colts when they didn't get as many years out of Andrew Luck as you would have imagined. You'd figure this guy would have had like a 15, 16-year career as a top-level quarterback. Well, what did he go, about 7?
It was like 7 or 8 now.
Yeah. But, I mean, they luck out and have Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck just sitting there at number 1 in years that they stunk.
Yep.
And they definitely, sucked for luck. There was no question. That was one of the worst, and poorly disguised, thinly veiled tank jobs in history.
No, they went for it. They went and got Kerry Collins, who had been out of the game for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And Kerry
Vodka Collins.
Yes, and Curtis Painter, who had never started ever. Yeah, they went for it. And that's what the Pistons are doing. And to me, if you're this far into it, you might as well go for it.
May as well do it, yeah.
I love they almost won. They were up by 1 point with 6 minutes left. I'm like, who's playing for them?
Casey looked like that machine shop owner that Mike Wallace used to visit, right? Which you would have wished that Mike Wallace was there. Come on, Leslie Stahl. What are you doing here? They really did. I mean, they did a good job of making Marjorie, Taylor Greene look almost like a real person.
Human.
this lunatic, this raging lunatic, and they're like, well, she's well liked by our constituency. He's like, yeah, of course, these toothless hillbillies love this woman. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. All right, so that's the Heat. Did we accomplish anything there? We don't know what's going on. The barometer is kind of low. I don't see the Heat getting out of the first round of the playoffs. That doesn't mean that they won't. This was a team, though, that was, just a tick away from going to the NBA championship round last year, right? Had the Celtics by the jugular, didn't they, in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yes. What do you mean they were a shot away? Like Butler makes that shot, they probably win.
Was Rolling Stones time, yeah, just a shot away. As was FAU in their semifinal game, which unfortunately the shot was with San Diego State. And this guy swishes a jumper for an otherwise bricklaying contingent that looked awful. Yes. The next night shooting the basketball. Did they look like they even had – they looked like they needed to go back to if Tom Umansky put on a tape like he did on baseball on basketball, they had to dig up some old red on round ball tapes. I mean, just the form was awful for most of these guys. And they made it to the semifinal game, which is what? Is that a tribute to hustle? Can you say that was a fair statement that it seemed like, though, the pace of college basketball, I mean, is extremely fast at this point, even though the scores don't necessarily always reflect that. But, I mean, the pace of most of those games was pretty frantic, was it not?
I was going to say frenetic. It does feel like there's more urgency to the college game than there is the NBA game.
They really pushed the ball. I mean, the NBA players are great. It's kind of like you overlook the passing and the ability to receive a pass in hockey, where you're thinking, wait a minute, man, that guy's on skates. He's got a guy draped all around him. They don't care. I mean, they call off fights in the UFC for, less than happens on any given, running up and down the ice in hockey.
Oh, yeah.
And then a guy like fires a pass cross ice and, it just automatically, as if there was like a magnetic, compulsion going on there, sticks on the guy's stick and he fires a shot. You're like, wow. A, the pass was brilliant. I mean, holy Jonathan Huberdeau. And then B, look at this guy. I mean, just handling the puck like it was nothing. I mean, I don't know. I didn't play a lot of hockey. I couldn't skate. So whatever I did was just like street hockey and stuff.
Yeah, I played street hockey.
Yeah.
Which is not the same thing, obviously.
I guess it's not the same thing, but I mean, it was not that easy to control the puck.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
Imagine on ice with like some 240-pound goon. I mean, they're ready to just, knee you in the balls as, you get, thrown into the boards. And the ref looks at it and goes, clean play, no problem. Those guys are tough. All right, so we got nothing on the Heat then, except that this year isn't going to be a great year in all likelihood. What would you say that's a fair statement, Mike Lubie Lubitz?
Correct.
That you will make the postseason, I think maybe even as the 6th seed. Then Philadelphia walloped Boston last night, did they not? Embiid dropped 52.
Yep.
Did that cement? I mean, and convince these late? I mean, it's like winning the last 10 seconds of a round in boxing, and the other guys won. Easily dominated the first 2 minutes and 50 seconds. This happened in the. If you watch this fight over again, classic. Where you're thinking there's still disagreement to this day about the decision. Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler. Remember that fight?
Yeah.
Okay, and Sugar Ray is, I think, getting dominated. Not dominated necessarily, overwhelmingly so, but Hagler's winning the fight. But Sugar Ray does that thing, where he's going into like the Ali shuffle in the last 10 seconds of every round, and they give him every round. It's insane, how that ends up happening. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what kind of level of optimism I have, there for the Miami Heat. The Marlins last night. You want to get into that?
Sure. I do love going 9 shutout innings to win 1-0.
Who pitches a complete game in their second start?
In this day and age, no one does. What do you mean? Pitchers go entire years without complete games, and Sandy by himself had more than I think the whole majors combined or something.
Yeah. 1-0, the Marlins win. They rise to 2-4. The bad news there is if you're using the Mets series as a measuring stick of where they're at, the Mets have been clobbered 19-0 combined the last 2 games against the Milwaukee Brewers, who are always seemingly representative. Good thing we traded Yelich and got so much back for him.
Well, and Brian Anderson. Did you see what Brian Anderson's doing so far this season?
No, I have not.
Oh, he's killing it. He's
The minute he got out of here, I mean, is there a curse over the Marlins franchise?
well, I mean,
What do you think?
I would think.
Is it the curse of Jeffrey Loria?
Maybe. Yeah, probably. I might go back to Huizinga.
People thought John Henry was a bad owner. They thought Huizinga was a bad owner.
I mean, there's nothing.
And then we got Loria and Sampson. I mean, who pulled off, I mean, you talk about criminal enterprise. How they pull this thing off, still among the greatest, sports Ponzi schemes
ever. Yeah.
ever.
Pieces of work.
Ever. You come in, you don't own the shirt on your back. How is it that some people are able to do this? And we can't figure out a way to get it done.
Well, that's why they tell you to be confident. Desperation scared people away. Confidence brings people in. Usually the confident people are full of shit.
As I recall, man, I mean, this thing got started with Loria, where he was being sued by 5 French Canadians who all, I mean, made the mistake of wearing thong bathing suits to court, which led the judge to give a very favorable and generous ruling in Loria's direction. And so they were aced out. They were his partners with the Montreal Expos, or had some interest in the Expos. So Loria ends up owning the Marlins, and I think he did it like Dave Delgado, what was his chief of finance, the guy that used to sell, tell you, hey, you can buy real estate with other people's money. It pretty much did it. This was Matthew Lesko buying a baseball franchise. And so he has no money, and then cashes out at like $1.4 billion when the Sherman cat comes along.
It is weird that baseball wouldn't allow Mark Cuban, but they'll allow broke people. Like, and I get it. It's weird to call someone who
this guy owned 2 Dayglow Jesus paintings, and then he was selling. Like I said, I saw him outside underneath 595 on what is that? 441, right? On the way back from the Hard Rock Casino one night, there's Jeffrey Loria selling Dayglow Jesus paintings outside while Sampson is hawking honey from Virginia. As if we were supposed to believe he really, had this shipped in.
You're supposed to protect your league, you would think. Like, if a guy can't afford to buy with his own money, what does that say? Like, how is he going to run the franchise? Like,
yeah, and the other guys, I mean, they really got stiffed in that deal. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Nobody's ever, thought to gather these people together and talk about what may be the greatest sports swindle of all time. This was better, and I forget the guy's name who, didn't have any money, and he bought the New York Islanders.
Oh, I was just going to give that story. Yeah, the guy who actually was flat out broke and just fooled everyone.
Literally, I mean, it was like Bankman-Fried to an exponent of 20, man.
Yeah, no,
he really didn't own the shirt on his back. I think he came to work shirtless because he didn't have a shirt. And he owns the team. And they bought it for a while.
Oh, for a while. No, he was like announced as the owner and like acting as the owner. Yeah.
My man, Bruce McNull, who, I was just, talking about this the other day with a friend of mine, where we had to collect the money off Bruce McNull, who was this big numismaticist. Is that how you say it? Numismaticist.
I don't know.
Right? He was a coin dealer and collector. That was his trade and his claim to fame. But he ended up buying the L.A. Kings, and it turned out, everything he was doing. He owned a horse racing stable that was pretty prominent in California. A good stable of horses under the banner of Suma Stable. Was advertising with us on a radio show we were doing out of Santa Anita. We go to collect the money, and I still never forget this. This guy that looks like a homeless black guy. I was thinking, how nice is this, billionaire guy that he would bring this homeless black man to the track with him and have him sit like in his elite section there at Santa Anita, and he's being fed like crackers with caviar and drinking champagne, and. So it was kind of a rainy, lousy day. I guess we were underneath like a section there, and where that was covered, and it was cold by California standards. Sometimes you would get like one of these rank days in February or whatever. The guy's wrapped up in a blanket, and they keep saying, "What are you paying these guys for? What are you paying these guys for?" And we're thinking, would you get this guy to shut up? I mean, we just want to collect a check here, get out of here. We need the 5 dimes. It would desperately keep the show going. And sure enough, he says, I want to introduce you to my friend. This is Barry Gordy.
I know. One of the founders of the founder of Motown.
One of the richest guys on the planet, man. Motown. he found little Stevie when he was playing a harmonica, for God's sake. Unbelievable. Yeah. Supremes. Diana Ross. I mean, think of the people that were on this label here. Jackson 5. And he was barking, man. He seems like a decent guy. I don't know what was up with him that day. But it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, we got to run. We have what? Sean Deveney coming up.
Yes.
We talked about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, not for a little while here, which is kind of a mistake on our part because I don't want to forget about it. Yesterday was just a beautiful day. I mean, absolutely sensational outside. Although I did end up falling asleep after I got back from this doctor's appointment, and I woke up and I said, "Wow, let there be light," and there still was. So I got to enjoy a little of just a perfect spring day. And the walk of life is now a nighttime proposition there, really, sometimes.
Nice.
And it's absolutely delightful. And you're thinking, wow, the moon was hanging over the water and the palm trees there. It was literally a postcard for the Chamber of Commerce. And I'm thinking the only place that this could be better might be the Keys. I had that, kind of notion again cross my mind, Libby, to say, hey, why don't I just check out of everything? Get like a little tow bar in the back there, buy a wave runner, and then just cruise around the Keys. Maybe get some a place that's falling half apart, and live like the rest of the people there. Never do anything but wear cutoffs and walk around barefoot. Is that what they do in the Keys? No, that's Alabama I'm talking about. Great spot though. Great food and drink. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, man. That's the place to go. It's just a short pop, actually, from the Fort Lauderdale area here. If you're in Miami, you're real close, and if you're in Palm Beach, it's worth the cruise. And if you're from out of town, man, make this a destination of choice. The best food and drink you're going to find anywhere in the Keys. There are a lot of great restaurants there. Mike Mayo just did a little tour down there. I have several places that I always try to hit whenever I'm in the Keys, which isn't frequently enough. But I was overwhelmingly impressed with what they offered at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. I believe you were too, and this is in all sincerity, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Not just because we love these guys. Dominic and Jemmy, real creative in the kitchen. The custom pizzas that they have there, fantastic. And this isn't some schmanky like Keys pizza. They really go into it, and they have all the right approaches to giving you a pizza. You would think you were somewhere in Sicily. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then all the seafood is fresh as a daisy. Great views there on the bay. It's absolutely fantastic. I don't know, what was your favorite thing there that you had?
I don't know. That's interesting. I like that the nachos were ridiculous. Because that's the thing. That's why I don't like getting chicken nachos, because what they'll do is put all the chicken on the top, and then it's
And then
worse.
there's nothing on the bottom there. It's empty, man.
I liked how they did it. Like, you didn't feel cheated. It didn't feel chinced. So that was impressive. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 grown adults eating off of it, and I don't even know if we finished it.
Yeah, nachos can be real fool's gold, right? When they come out, you're going, "Whoa, man, who can eat that?"
Yeah.
And then you get just past the top layer there. Somebody gets one, a chip that has everything on it, like the entire top of the nachos that they served. And then you're looking at it, it's a bunch of dried, not even particularly, crispy tortilla chips. And that's it, right?
Yep.
And you're thinking, literally, I mean, the old Wendy's commercial, where's the beef, man? I thought there was some chili supposed to be on here or something. No, I remember that coming out. Nachos often look impressive. These were impressive throughout. But that's just part of it. I mean, the seafood dishes were fantastic.
Oh no, everything was great. It was just,
man.
It was just interesting. It was like even the nachos, because that's to me. You make fun of me when I used to talk about Sufrene's vegetables, but my thing was they're so good that even the vegetables, like that's the thing. Like, you can do all these other things, and hopefully you do it well. If you're even doing like the nachos and really take time to make sure that people enjoy those, that to me is like, wow, they really take every attention to detail known to man, and it's really impressive.
No, it's not uncommon. I guess certain sports bars would be known for their nachos, but and I'm kind of particular about it. Where I don't want a thing to just have a bunch of cosmetic window dressing on it. You want those things to be enriched all the way through. Sometimes it comes out though; it looks overwhelming, doesn't it? But they do a great job there. The presentation is excellent. At first class service, also sometimes you're not necessarily. I mean, you're in no rush in the Keys, but you do like somebody to be around every once in a while. You don't have to, go Marjorie Taylor Greene, get on a megaphone and go, "Hey, he's being persecuted." You don't want that.
No.
Just to call attention to yourself and trying to get a couple of waters. And that can happen in the Keys, and you have no choice. Being a gringo down there, except to say, I guess that's the Keys lifestyle, right? But you don't have to do that at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, because you're getting the kind of service you would normally anticipate anywhere else. Real prompt and courteous. And you're in the Keys at the same time. I mean, just looking at the sun dropping and saying this is going to be one spectacular sunset. Live music all the time. I mean, it's really great. Tremendous accommodations. Check that out. I mean, you might want to look into that. Really upscale accommodations at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Make it a destination of choice, whether you're coming or going into the Keys. Mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. We couldn't have been any happier there, and we can't wait to go back, even though we've been talking about it for a year and a half. But we will be going back at some point, Libby. I know that. I know it's going to work out. All right, we're coming back with Sean Deveney to talk about the NBA. A lot of interesting scenarios playing out there in the NBA. And you'd have to say, Lubie, I mean, look at the Western Conference also, where who knows who's going to be in there. Somebody at Dallas is probably going to be left out of the playoffs altogether, no?
Isn't that funny? The Lakers are surging. And
I told you to watch out for them, though. You didn't believe me.
You did it. Sure.
No, but I mean, I said that even, when they were staggering around there, bro, looking like Chuck Wepner in the 15th round against Ali. Or Diana Nyad coming out of the water there in Key West. Remember her? Man, boy, did she look like a schlump. I suppose if you had just swam 90 miles through treacherous waters and been attacked by jellyfish and to the point where you had to pull a jellyfish out of your ass just to stand up. She really was. She was wearing one like a yarmulke. I mean, she could have conducted your Passover Seder tonight. Well, what goes on during that? Well, we'll get into that a little bit, Lubie, but Sean Deveney's coming up, so we want to get to him. He's with Heavy.com. He's been with a lot of different organizations, right? Sports Illustrated?
Sporting News. He was with the
Sporting News, yeah. And it's real good. I mean, he knows his stuff. So we'll get into the NBA a little bit with Sean Deveney. We didn't cover the Cats game there. The Panthers last night, big win. This guy, Alex Lyon, in goal, has been lighting it up. And I don't know. Now, what do? Do you bring back Big Bob?
No.
Was like a human sieve. They had lost 4 games in a row. They were getting clobbered.
He sucks. Keep him far away from the fucking net.
Do you think that they deliberately poisoned Bobrovsky so he would be ill?
Whatever they did, good job. And
I don't want to suggest that there was Russian interference here.
I don't care what there was. He sucks.
Yeah.
He's horrendous.
Okay. Because, this Alex Lyon is averaging 1.25 goals against through 4 games, all wins by the Panthers. And this Matt Tkachuk is the man. Never mind that this weak, soft Jonathan Huberdeau, who everybody loved. As Paul Maurice pointed out, he was a pussy compared to this guy. Pussy. They don't hold back in the NHL. Like, coaches, they're not going to say, well, you know what, maybe his fielding is a little bit suspect, but we love what he brings to the table in the clubhouse. As a leader, they don't. No, the guy's a pussy. That's all. You can see Barry Trotz saying something like that. Yeah, these pussies. Who can win with them?
Oh, for sure.
It's great. All right, a little basket's coming up here. You sure I'm not on a tilt here, Lubie?
You can. I told you to move it just to make yourself on a tilt.
I don't know what direction to move the thing in because it's the opposite, and you have to kind of get dyslexic about it, don't you?
I don't know.
Because if you move the thing this way, then it actually should be this way. Even the lettering there on the wall is backwards. I don't know what happened there. Should that be the case, or are we doing something wrong?
There's a setting to get rid of mirror. I don't know how to do that. So,
all right.
Mine isn't. That's what's weird is my letters aren't.
No, yours are fine. Yeah.
Reads to you normal, and I have it.
There's probably a button that I pushed on this camera by mistake that reversed the image.
When I read it, it's on there. So on the thing, for some reason, yours, I don't know.
You mean I could fix this after like 2 years
nearly
of doing this?
I didn't do anything, though. I didn't touch anything to make it read the right way. So I don't know.
I'm thinking I probably in the dark hit a button by mistake here. The buttons are really small on this little camera.
Probably.
And probably reversed the, the image that it's projecting, no?
I have no idea.
So you're seeing me backwards. So... Is that the case also, or is it just the lettering on these posters?
I don't get that far into it.
Who else has a Vladimir Klitschko? No, it's Vitaly Klitschko, Danny Williams poster hanging in their house. Does anybody?
Probably not even Vladimir.
Probably, yeah. Vitaly doesn't even remember fighting Danny Williams.
Not even Danny.
It was either at the Mandalay Bay or the MGM Grand. I want to say, well, it should be on there. I think it's Mandalay Bay. Is that on the poster? Can't see it from here in the reflection. Anyway, all right, Sean Deveney coming up in just a minute as we return in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Yeah, Klitschko probably doesn't remember that fight. He got paid handsomely for it and didn't have to do shit. It was unbelievable. Williams, no match. And was coming off a win over Mike Tyson, who, had he not torn his anterior cruciate in his knee, probably would have knocked out Williams in 3 rounds. It's 8:21.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Your little toss, your little toss.
Come on.
Oh,
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Thank God.
You idiot.
Thank God.
Thank God, please. There's nothing to do with God.
We now return to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here, South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubie Lubitz. And that little clip, I don't know how easily audible it was to you, but, we've been playing it for a long time. It was actually from a Lubie family Seder where everybody was screaming at each other. No, he was a psychotic fan at one time. And would be, do you still do that? You still yell and scream at the television set, Lubie, when you're watching games?
The whole time.
Yeah. I think you've been placed on, a dilaudid drip when you're watching sports because you've calmed down considerably, including, though, although upset, and we welcome to the show one of our favorites here when it comes to NBA analysis, just a real gentleman overall. Sean Deveney of Heavy.com joins us, a longtime NBA analyst and writer. And welcome, Sean. How are you? Good to have you on the program.
Well, thanks for having me, people. How are you guys?
Good morning.
We'd be okay, except, I mean, we're just so typical of like sports talk today, where, the Heat win 118-105 last night, and Lubie is much more inclined to do this than I am, and he's screaming that this was a horrible effort by the Miami Heat, and what a joke it was, that they needed like late game heroics from Jimmy Butler to pull away from a Detroit team that had the lead on them in the fourth quarter. And who are the Pistons to sit 5 guys during a ball game? I mean, who played for them last night? Isaiah Thomas? Does Lubie have a right as a fan? Obviously, he has a right. I mean, but should we qualify him as even remotely sane for screaming that the Heat suck and that they were life and death to beat Detroit last night? Makes them ammunition for this type of attack.
Yeah, certainly you're trying to stay alive for that number 6 seed, which is very, very important. Obviously, you can avoid the play-in game. You don't have to do all that stuff. So it's a game that they really needed. And yeah, I mean, you look at who the Pistons. They had not Isaiah Thomas, but Isaiah Liber on the floor in the starting lineup, and this was a tough game for the Heat. So yeah, not the kind of effort that you want to see, but you get the win, and in the end, that's what matters at this time of year. It's everybody's a little bedraggled here, so the Heat are trying to get themselves across the finish line with with as much hope for that 6 seed as possible. And, they're still in the running. They've got a tough game. I'm sure they were looking ahead a little bit. Philadelphia's playing very well. They got to play Philadelphia on Thursday. And then they close with 2 winnable games, the Wizards and the Magic. So, probably looking ahead a little bit last night. So I wouldn't overreact too much. I know that's tough to say to Lubie because that's part of his DNA. But
yeah, he was screaming.
Sir. Yeah, I'm sure, but yeah, it's still very much alive for that 6 seed, and And if they can beat Philadelphia on Thursday, you got to give them a pretty good chance.
So, Sean, we talked with you in the offseason. We talked with you during this season. You've recently talked about the Heat with the big move. Either they've said they were trying to, they weren't able to do it. So this offseason could set up for, if not a big move, some kind of substantial move or some kind of substantial roster change. What's interesting to me is I think they were the top 3-point shooting team last year. Now they're, I think, bottom 3 to 5. And they have like 90% of their 3-point shooters still on the same team. Have you seen that before where all that changes is that guys who are good at shooting threes over the course of an entire season become bad? Because to me, as a guy who's watched basketball my whole life, yeah, guys have off games. They have off stretches. Yeah. But in an entire season where 4 or 5 guys just forget how to shoot threes, it's utter, like watching last night, like you could play the worst team in the league. If you're missing wide open, like just Gabe Vincent airballed a wide open 3. Hero and Robinson bricked wide open 3s. And I'm like, oh, that explains why they've sucked so badly. Like what in your mind has happened? Because I've never really seen anything like that from one year to the next.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys are the same, that I get a little rankled when I hear announcers say, well, it's a make or miss league, because of course it's a maze, that we know that it's you either make the shot or you don't. I get it. But in this case, there's something to that, because I think that you had last year, you had guys shoot as well as they ever have. And whether it's Caleb Martin and Max Strus, certainly Gabe Vincent. And this year, it hasn't, none of these guys have really tanked in their numbers. They've just sort of come back to where they usually are. And when you get something like that happening, then you're going to see a general thinking. And they don't have a Ray Allen on this roster. Don't have great shooters.
They don't even have Mel Allen at this point.
They don't have Mel Allen either. That's right. And a guy like Duncan Robinson, obviously, we know what's happened to him, and that's sort of emblematic. So it's just sort of a reversion to the mean a little bit. These guys weren't great shooters. A lot of them had really good years shooting the ball last year, and kind of came back to earth this year. Like I said, no huge collapses. Gabe Vincent is a great example. He shot 37% last year, which is over his usual, and he's back down to 34% this year. So not collapsing, but back to more where you'd expect it to be.
It's known as Dion Waiters syndrome around Heat circles. You're thinking, we really gave this guy $80 million after that year, where we were at 1 point 11 and 30.
That was the aberration.
That was a wild one. And every now and then the Heat, Lubie's talking about these big moves, but it seems like as good of a well-run of a franchise as they are. Obviously, we have great respect for Pat Riley's executive acumen. But once in a while they get snookered, and it seems like they may be in that spot right now. What's your feeling? I normally am offended. I used to be anyway. My sporting sensibilities were upset whenever playoffs seem to be getting more and more bastardized by adding more teams in. And yet, I think the element of intrigue and added spark to, so-called meaningful games at the end of the regular season, which the Heat now have 3 games left, and Brooklyn has 3 games left, and they're of some, at least, a level of importance here, because you do want to, as you suggested, avoid having a 1-game proposition and maybe drop out of the playoffs. How do you see the expansion of the playoffs? Are you also, were you opposed to it at first, like I was, and now think that it's a good thing, or what was your position on that, and how do you feel about it now, the way it's working?
Yeah, I kind of felt it was unnecessary, that the race for the 8th seed was usually interesting enough, but this has added a different level of getting into that top 6 and having that be of significant interest, and then being in the top 8, because if you've got 7 or 8, then you're playing at home in one of those games, and you've only got to win 1 game, and then being in the top 10. So you've got sort of 3 levels of the playoffs that you're talking about, and I didn't foresee that being all that interesting, but it certainly has been. So yeah, it's a wrinkle, and the playing game I like. I always am in favor of fewer games. So I'd like to see them roll back and go back to, maybe even just 78 games, to cut out 4 games, to kind of allow a little more room for these playing games and have them count in the stats. They don't count, so you could score 100 points in that game and it'll be as if it never happened. So that's a little weird to me. So,
yeah.
I'd like to see them tweak that a little bit, but yeah, I think it's been successful.
Yeah, certainly more cities are involved, and I guess part of the reasoning and the rationale behind it would be, and it sort of worked in baseball where you have a game sometimes, a last game in a regular season that would have absolutely no significance, and now it's for a chance to go to the postseason or not, and so everybody's got to play the season all the way through, except the occasional team that's tanking. Which in this case, I guess, you could look at the Rockets maybe to a lesser extent than the Pistons, who have lost 22 out of 23, I think, now, except for last night. Speaking of which, though, I mean, you mentioned the lessening of the season. A new CBA was just struck. Now, I'm looking at it, and I'm usually an advocate for the players, and yet you're thinking there are scrubs that are making $15-20 million dollars a year that really don't make any great significant contribution to the teams they're on. Guys getting paid a lot like Ben Simmons, $78 million for doing nothing for the next couple of years, in all likelihood. How upset could you be with the agreement? And yet the players seem to be screaming that they always get screwed. What were your thoughts on what transpired there? And do you think it will bring about a positive change, if indeed any change is made at all? I know they had the mid-season tournament and a couple of other concepts I don't fully grasp.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the mid-season tournament. I just it's an attempt to drum up interest in winter basketball when the NFL is dominating things, and I don't see that necessarily being successful. But I also don't see a big it's a risk worth taking, I guess. It's a bit of a money grab, but hey, that's what sports is. On the professional level, hey, on the college level too, right? But so that's fine. The whole thing with players complaining, some did. I think most of them supported this deal because look, in the end, what matters is there's a 50-50 split of revenue. And so everything becomes academic as to how you split that up. Who gets what and how much each team can spend. So that's what it comes down to. So players can complain about it, but the fact is that if the league takes in $6 billion, the players are getting $3 billion of it. And we can argue about hard caps and who should spend this, who should spend that. But the fact is that money goes to the players no matter what. So it's something where you can complain about this detail or that detail, but in the end, the players are going to get the same amount no matter what. So I'm not sure what the complaints are about for sure.
So Defo's always sort of made fun of me because we actually started our thing when this became a thing. Because even by my age, the off season wasn't the thing. You actually cared about the regular season. The big names really didn't move, as you've seen the Barclays and the Jordans and the Ewings and the Magics talk crap about this era because their era didn't do that. So the off season was you paid attention to baseball and you didn't care about basketball because there was nothing going on. And then the years leading up to 2010 on shifted, where the offseason seemed to be just as, if not more exciting sometimes than the regular season. So I do that again now, and I like doing that with you because you do keep an eye on things like that. When you look at a Luka, and they went and got him help, and it made them worse. When you look at the Blazers, where Dame, I love that he's loyal, I give him credit, but all they're doing is getting worse, the Blazers. How long do guys like that continue their loyalty? Because to me, I'm all about being loyal. I think it's amazing. But it didn't help guys like Kevin Garnett. It only hurt them. So, do you see the Giannis? It worked for. Good for Giannis. He gave them one last thing, and they went and got him a title. Cool. But the loyalty thing seems to hurt you when you're these great players more than help you, especially in an era where you see the great players leaving. Do you see these guys continuing to be loyal? And if not, where could you see them possibly going?
Yeah, I do think that loyalty has a sell by date, and for Damian Lillard is a good example, and maybe Bradley Beal as well. They should be just about there at this point. I think 10, 11, 12 years, probably it's time. And Portland. Portland would like to move on. They would like to rebuild.
Even they want to go.
But
we don't want you to be so loyal here, Damien. Yeah.
Well, right. You're being a little too loyal at this point.
Maybe you ought to lighten up a little bit. Yeah,
Somebody
exactly.
Else, We'd rather somebody else pay you $60 million. But Kevin Garnett's a good example of a guy who was loyal for about 12, 13 years, and then came to a point where the team wanted to rebuild, and he didn't necessarily want to leave, but he agreed to, and of course it worked out for him. He got a championship in Boston, and became really an icon in Boston, despite only playing a few years there. So that's the kind of pattern that a guy like Damian Lillard can have, where he's not going to destroy his legacy in Portland by leaving at this point. I think that everybody appreciates what he tried to do for that franchise and what he did do for that franchise. So, and the way it's going to work though is that for somebody like that, he's got to come to them and say, all right, let's work out what's next here. Let's do something that's good for you guys, for franchise, get you draft picks, get young players, and gets me somewhere where I can win. So that's going to be the next step there. It's not going to be something where this is going to be forced upon him. If he wants to stay, and Bradley Beal's in the same situation, Washington, he wants to stay, he's going to stay. But the moment he comes to them and says, all right, get me out of here, let's work on this, then you're going to wind up seeing them. And the Knicks, I think, are the team that's probably watching all this with the most interest, especially after what happened with Donovan Mitchell last year. They're under some pressure to go ahead and make that big move, and Lillard could wind up being the guy.
Mitchell on a tear, 4 straight 40-point games with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are sort of being overlooked. While everybody's saying, "Hey, well, you need that 6th spot or the 7th spot." The 4th and 5th battle. I think Knicks fans are very confident that they have, maybe crossed into a period where they're going to have very good teams with Brunson. But I think the Cavs are being overlooked by a lot of people, and Mitchell's been out of control. Did Joel Embiid, Sean Deveney, cement the MVP voting and the top vote getter position with this 52 he dropped on the Celtics last night?
Yeah, I think that went a long way towards cementing his case, and I'm not an advocate for one game, putting a guy over the top, but if we're talking about how the voting is going to go, I think that did have a significant impact on as people are sitting down and filling out their ballots, which they'll be doing in the next few days, that's going to be something that will be very present in terms of how people proceed from here. Certainly, if they were able to jump up and grab that 2nd seat from Boston, which isn't going to be easy at this point, but if they were be able to do that, then that would be the bow on it. And I think that would guarantee that Joel Embiid wins the MVP. But even without that, I think with the way Philadelphia has played, with the way he played in the second half, Jokic has a good argument, and Giannis Antetokounmpo has a good argument. I think it'll probably come down to Jokic and Embiid. And a lot of people will say, well, Denver's the number 1 seed in the West, and Philadelphia is just number 3 in the East. But both teams are 52 and 27 at this point. So I mean, they've got the same record. So I don't buy that. And it's just a matter of how important Embiid has been. I think there's no question that he's been as important to that team as any player in the league.
Am I misleading Lubie? And I've been telling him this since actually when it looked like it was impossible to conceive that it would be unwise to sleep on the Lakers as a potential team to maybe even represent the West. Are we wrong in that position, or does it look like maybe there's some merit to that argument now?
I think there's definitely merit to that argument. I mean, this it's taken them about 3 years now since they won that championship to get it right. But it's a big asterisk. It's healthy. I mean, they've got to be healthy, and that's been their big problem over the last few years. No question between Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But if those guys are healthy, the way Anthony Davis has played in the last month and a half, is kind of back to where he was before he got injured in January. So if that's going to continue, then there's very few teams that can guard him. I think what they've done, what they did at the trade deadline was it's all worked out exactly how they wanted it to. D'Angelo Russell, when he's been healthy, he's been fantastic. I think Jarrett Vanderbilt is an underrated addition. A guy like Malik Beasley can shoot it. And things that they do are just making more sense. They have a lineup now that makes more sense. They're playing Austin Reeves more, and Austin Reeves has been fantastic off the bench and has really made a case for Sixth Man of the Year with really just a couple of months. He probably won't win it, but he's been really, really important for them off the bench. So they've got a lineup now that just makes more sense, and they really haven't had that, like I said, for 3 years, in addition to not being healthy. So the changes that they made, and the fact that the Western Conference is no great shape at this point. You'd have to give them a chance, assuming they get in the playoffs, and no matter what the matchup, whether it's Memphis or whether it's Denver, no matter who it is, the Lakers are going to have a real chance to at least win that first playoff series and get themselves moving forward.
All right, one final thing, just transitioning. I'm sure you had an eye on the college playoffs and the Final Four. How much would you have bet against of your overall wherewithal, Sean Deveney, both FAU and the University of Miami being in the Final Four this year in college basketball?
It was the kind of year where there wasn't a dominant team, and I thought Alabama was going to be that team, and they weren't, and a lot of the blue blood, Kansas wasn't really believable as a dominant team. Duke, with the changes that they've had, new coach and all that, you knew they weren't going to, North Carolina, a mess, so you kind of had an idea that it was going to be an unexpected Final Four. I did not, Florida Atlantic and Miami. No way, that was not
Florida Atlantic. I mean, think about that.
Exactly right. I mean, I honestly, when I was filling out my bracket, I saw that they were number 9 seed. I was like, how is Florida Atlantic a number 9 seed? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I just had not paid much attention to them, and obviously, as we saw, it's pretty good. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it was that kind of year in college basketball.
Pretty wild, yeah. No, very entertaining tournament. It seems like you say it every year, or at least 2 out of every 3 years. You're like, wow. I mean, that was the greatest tournament ever. But I really thought this one was sensational, especially so, I guess, for us, because we had this improbable run going with FAU and the University of Miami, who were very good all season long, although largely overlooked by the general public as a contending team for a championship. Sean, always a pleasure. Heavy.com, right? That's where we catch most of your stuff?
Absolutely. That's right, guys.
Okay, very good. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for being with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks a lot. Sean Deveney, man. I still look like I'm on a tilt here, Libby. I can't get this right. I can't get this out of my head. Nobody else is seeing it this way, huh? I didn't get a chance to really peruse the comments here on the comment line.
No one's seeing it. You're the only one.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's just the way it's showing up in my little screen here. All right. We're coming back. A celebrity guest going to join us. A great friend. We called him Mr. Radio.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
And the man is Mr. Radio, right? You name a city, he's worked there.
Yes.
Right? Kalamazoo. Yeah, I was at K-Cal over in Kalamazoo there. It was fantastic.
He's at least done radio there. I don't know how long he was there, but if you mention a market, he's done some time there.
New Mexico, yeah. I mean, he'd worked everywhere, man. It was incredible. And always, with something positive to say about the place. Yeah, we were doing top 40 contemporary out of so and so. Got all the terminology and everything. So we love this guy, and we had the pleasure of for a couple of years anyway, until the sales department completely fucked it up. And that sounds Neil Rogers-esque, but it was absolutely the truth. I mean, you could not have bungled this deal, except to be, a greedy pig in the sales department that thought you could pull a fast one on a client who had been advertising with you faithfully for years and years and years.
Yes, they actually went to the station and said, "We want to do this again." They're like, "All right, cool.
Yeah.
We're not. It's the same price." They're like, "Yeah, but you don't have the Dolphins anymore.
Yeah.
So we still want to do it, but why would we pay the same money?" They're like, "Well,"
Imagine.
they're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
It ended stupidly.
I remember Barry Jackson was always writing about potential radio wars and trying to stir stuff up.
Yeah.
And I was at IOD, and we had the Dolphins, and Joe Zagacki had moved over to WQAM, and they had decided they were going to do a pregame show on the Dolphins, even though they didn't have the game, which I think is one of the most ridiculous concepts that you could ever have, right? Where you're going to act like you have the game, and then you don't have the game.
But you don't. Yeah.
Stupid, yeah, because where are people going to tune in? They're going to tune in where they're listening to the game. So you're wasting your time completely. And you're going to, say, oh, well, we got better personnel and this and that and the other thing. I remember Jackson asking me, well, what did I think about that, this rival pregame show? And I said, well, we'll be at the stadium talking to the coaches and the people that are in the game and, having all the people, that are coming into the stadium to cover the game. Well, we'll be talking to a lot of people. And Joe will be over at the Howard Johnson's down the street there, dumping quarters into a payphone. So, I mean, where would you rather go? I mean, it's unfortunate, but it seems to me, I mean, how do you counter program the Super Bowl is basically what this boils down to.
And we were going to be doing that, so I don't know.
All right, but we had a good time anyway, and the guy was willing to pay for this regardless of having no game on the station. I mean, but he wanted to pay a little less, and the sales guy goes, "Oh no, it's the same price.
Yeah.
We have our, we have our positions that we can't come off of. Obviously we have to protect, the integrity of the radio station by charging you double what this thing is worth. Unbelievable. See, we don't do that. That's why this Mike Mayo's lunchbox is a success.
You're very fair, yes.
All right, we got to run. We have Doc Reno going to join us next, a special guest. Guess I gave away the mystery.
We weren't supposed to do that, but that's fine. Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't resist, man. I love the guy. All right, that's coming up in a moment. Now that. Mr. Radio, man. It's 8:48. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has got me sugar now.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and a gentleman that we were talking about show prep. I guess he was more accustomed to doing this in his line of work than we were, Lubie, where we just watch games and come on and start ragging on the teams, even if they won. But I was always amazed, very overwhelmingly impressed with this man's preparation for our Dolphin pregame shows we did together for a couple of years before. I don't want to mention any names. Todd Winnick, a salesman, completely fucked this deal up.
His name.
And we welcome to the show Doc Reno, our good friend, man. Doc, how are you?
That's pretty funny. I'm a rock radio personality, so it's like I had to make sure I had my homework done.
Yeah. Oh, you were great, man.
So.
What I was like,
you had like every stat on Shady McCoy one week. I don't even know if he played, but I mean, you had a breakdown that was like Greg Cosell on that show he does
when I were
on ESPN.
Docs,
yeah, it was great
stuff, and he has outlined them. We're like, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah, it was like Edge Monday Night Matchup. I mean, with Doc Reno, you were great. I loved it, Doc.
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Lubie was there with nothing. He was just waiting for the food to show up.
100%.
You used to come in. You would just bring a New York Post.
That was it when I got it delivered.
Yeah, and I had a folder on strictly Dolphins, and then I had a folder. I called it Week in NFL. So what happened over the past week?
Yeah.
And then I had a folder on the upcoming games. So I would bring 3 folders in: Dolphins, week past, week upcoming, and make sure that I had my notes.
And it was our goal every week to make sure you got to none of it. Like,
yeah, we made sure you never got to any of it. Like you would start bringing up some of this stuff, and we would immediately transition into like our strip club appearance from the previous Friday night.
Well, Big 105.9's got the games again. So
yes,
you do.
What's happening there? Yeah. Is Winnick telling you he's going to put something together? Are you still dealing with the same people?
I don't listen to Todd. So I've made a pretty successful radio career out of pretty much not listening to anybody. So
exactly.
I think I'm doing it right.
Well, we're going to think about bringing back, and I know the terminology isn't accurate anymore when it comes to a radio guy being referred to as a DJ, but that was a common term when I was growing up in the 30s. But we might resurrect DJs on the radio. That was one of my favorite segments, although it'd be DJ streaming. And we'll get, I think it was you, Tom Caminiti, and Eric Brandon.
Yes, Brandon.
And it was a great segment. People loved that, man. You guys came on and really, brought it to the table when it came to what was going on with the Finns. So if you don't mind me asking, I mean, you have to be somewhat impressed, Doc Reno, as the optimist you are, and a Dolphin fan, with what the Dolphins are at least attempting to do, all contingent as well on whether Tua can, if he's not seeing, 2 stadiums when he walks in there, maybe you can have, this kind of success they need from him. But what do you think about all the stuff that's gone on with the Finns during the offseason?
Well, Jeff, honestly, I think they've had an amazing offseason, and I'm going to call it right now. They're going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
All right.
It really depends on it's up to Tua Tagovailoa and how healthy he is, and if he's healthy, I don't know if we're going to go to the Super Bowl, but I definitely think we could get past the first round of the playoffs. They've had a tremendous offseason, and the Ramsey trade, honestly, to me was a steal for somebody as good as he is, and he wants to play here.
Yeah,
that helps. It's one thing to get traded. Do you get traded to a place you want to go to? And, he wanted to come here, and, they've had a tremendous offseason. It's been pretty awesome. But I also, let me just say this, I like Tua. He's a great kid, but I really think that, they might want to look at picking up a quarterback in the draft. That's if they have any picks left. And
I think they have a contingent, a qualified 6th rounder somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So you never know. Hey, Brady was taken in the 6th round. You never know. But,
we don't do that type of stuff here, though. Maybe Zach Thomas as a 5th round pick, right? That was a good one.
I don't know if the whole Deshaun Watson thing is kind of if there's some colluding going on between the owners. But, if I'm the Dolphins, you might want to take a look at Lamar Jackson, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. A kind of a quarterback that we thought Tua might be, but he actually throws the ball better than Lamar, but doesn't run as well. And really hasn't been that much of a scrambler when he's been with the Finns.
If you think, could you imagine Lamar Jackson in a Dolphins uniform playing in his hometown, in his home area, South Florida? I mean, if
And
anywhere,
having Waddle and Hill, to throw to.
yes, yes. And I mean, that offense would be, we wouldn't even need a running back. I mean, that offense would be absolutely scary, stupid good. I mean, I don't know. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan, and for him to play with the Dolphins would be amazing. But the way the Dolphins have been acting this offseason, I'm just going to leave it out there and say you never know.
I think he hired Master P to be his agent now. After he got that great deal for Ricky Williams, where Williams never got paid.
Every time, what's that analogy about representing yourself in fine? If you are your own attorney, then you have an idiot,
an ass for an attorney. Yeah.
Like
yes,
fool for an attorney.
I feel the same. Maybe you should call our friend Brett Tesler or something.
We've actually talked about it.
Yeah, it would be advantageous. There's no doubt. All right, now you bring it back a good thing, Doc. You've always been wonderful. I mean, I don't know anybody that's more generous with his time and more spirited about actually doing the charitable work that you do. And you are heavily involved. I mean, when you're putting on those shows at the rodeo grounds and now other places, you're all over it. It's not like, you're calling somebody going, how's it looking for the chicken wing eating contest? You're eating the wings, man. You're lining them up. I mean, you're doing everything. You're giving out balloons at the gate. You're making sure that the parking is going smoothly. I mean, you really get behind this stuff. And you started this thing last year, the South Florida Broadcasters Celebrity Golf Tournament. Now, I know from my own and Lubie's experience, and even now Mike Mayo has become a legendary broadcasting star with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, that, that there's a small level of celebrity here, and people, they think they know you if you're on the air. I'm sure you get a lot of this, right? Well, like, yeah, Doc, I remember when you were in Buffalo, you weren't doing so good. They'll come up to you and say something that is completely insulting, and you have to smile and just say, hey, thank you for tuning in. But there is a level of celebrity to it. People are attracted to it. So tell us about this second annual South Florida Broadcasters Celebrity Golf Tournament taking place on Friday, May the 5th, right around the corner.
Well, what happened was, long story short, one day our friend Lori Myers was on Facebook, and she saw 4 retired radio broadcasters playing golf.
Yeah.
And she calls me up. I'm in the parking lot of a Target of all places. And she's kind of my right-hand woman with my cancer foundation with Joe DiMaggio, my Family Matters Foundation. And she says, I got the best idea. And I go, okay, I'm all ears. And she goes, what do you think about having a broadcasters tournament? I just saw a picture online, and I actually talked to Tom Caminetti yesterday.
The tall Italian.
He's great.
Yeah, the tall Italian. He's great. One of the nicest people I know down here.
Great guy. Yes.
And so she's telling me this, and then you tell me something like that, and I'm thinking that's a fundraiser. I could do that for my charity, and all of a sudden I'm Doc Reno on steroids. And
right, exactly.
All of a sudden I start making phone calls. I call the Defo and Lubies of the world. I start asking everybody, I don't care if you play or not, can you make this thing? And so we did the first one last year. And we had 3 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame drummers there, Nico McBrain, Carmine Appice, and Tico Torres of Bon Jovi. We had tons of radio and television people. My longtime friend, Denny Somack. We have VH1 because of Denny Somack. We had Friday Night Videos because of Denny Somack. I mean, Denny Somack has been on every radio show. He's an author. He's a historian. He's been on with from Howard Stern to Paul Castronovo. And he lives now here in South. He's a Philly guy, now lives in South Florida. So I went through my contacts. And all of a sudden, like yesterday, I was texting with Brett Tesler. And I invited him to the tournament. And I just went through my contacts, and Mike and I have been talking. And I said to Lubie, I'm like, listen, any celebrity friends, whether they want to play or not, if they want to play, I'll comp them. But if they want to come and just hang out, we're going to do another tournament. I was told about the tournament. Hey, if you break even, consider it a win. It's a first-time tournament.
Okay.
Well, after all the bills were paid, we raised $25,200.
Wow.
You
Wow.
first year? Jesus.
Nice.
You know, that money I gave a family in Weston who was dealing with a cancer issue in the family. I gave them $1,500 to help them with their house payment, and I handed a check to Joe DiMaggio. What my foundation does is 5 years ago, and I'm cancer free now, but 5 years ago I went through a bout of cancer, and I was just told by my oncologist back on February 28th that it's gone. You
Oh,
beat
beautiful.
5
Yeah, I
years.
meant to
You're
dive
out
and
of-
told Defo.
I remember that, man. Where was it? In your eyeball or something? I mean, it was really serious stuff.
No, it was head and neck.
Okay.
So, like, you know, my mindset last, and I haven't really gone public with it, but my mindset back then was like, you know, like, wow, not only do I get stage 4 cancer, but I get stage 4 cancer where I make a living.
Yeah.
So if I beat it, I might lose my career. Luckily, I beat it, and I'm still on the air.
Yes.
And
You are a warrior, man. You are a gladiator, Doc Reno. There's no
100%.
question.
well, part of my I appreciate you saying that. Part of my fight was actually staying on the air, and my inspiration behind that was I met so many sick kids, and I would be going in for treatments, and I would hear the stories of the parents who were financially struggling. You know, insurance companies are not buying you. They're not buying you groceries.
No.
They're not paying your cell phone bill or your car.
Nope.
So I decided to create a foundation. And when I was telling one of my contacts, Joe DiMaggio, about my idea, and at first, you know, my wife Erin said to me that, you know, you're the kind of guy that will take something so horrible that happened to them, and you'll do a 180 with it, and you're going to do something really wonderful. And you're either going to join a foundation or you're going to create your own. And I told her, I said, you know what, I'm going to create my own when I beat this because I want to know where the money's going. And so after last year's tournament, and I could text Lubie a picture, you too, Jeff. There's me in the lobby of the hospital. And last year, out of that golf money, I gave them $17,500 from the golf.
Beautiful thing, Doc Reno. It really is.
So the 25 we raised, I put 6 in the bank to pay for future events, and I donated 19,000 of it.
Wow!
And it was such a great day. If you go to myfamilymattersfoundation.org, you can see pictures of last year's golf tournament.
Who was in? Was Murphy in it? Bill Murphy, Stancil? I mean, who were some of the guys?
Murphy, Stancil, Dave Lamont.
Dave Lamont, nice.
Novo. Everybody was there. We had Drew Heyman from Y100. We had Michael Mack. He's now on Hits One, Sirius XM. I mean, the list goes on and on. And
You get our girl Jade Alexander out there? Was she on the scene?
I actually reached out to her on Facebook about a week ago. I have not heard back from her, but I'd love to have Jade there.
Yeah, no, she's great.
Long time friend. So there's a lot of really great people in the radio community in South Florida. A lot of great broadcasters, and I've told them all. I'm like, listen, I just want, it's almost like it's almost like a quasi reunion. You know,
It's a good group of people. I always enjoyed the other people in the media here. I found that to be one of the pleasant aspects of working here. Mostly all of the other people were great. I mean, and good to be around, and very supportive of each other, which is nice.
And so we're going to do it again, and we need golfers and we need sponsors, and big and small. And my attitude, and I told Lubie this yesterday. I'm like, I gave the hospital $17,500. I can't go in there with less.
Yeah.
I need everybody's help. I need help. I need my friends like you guys. I need everybody's help. We oversold out last year.
Oh,
24
beautiful.
hours out. I got a call from Bob Brzezinski, 2 Dolphins players wanted to play. I got a call from Mitchell Cypress of the Seminole Tribe, and 2 board members wanted to play.
Wow.
I got a call from Georgie with Brandstock, and Damon John of Shark Tank, his best friend and business partner, and either his girlfriend or wife. Hopefully there's not 2. But his name is Chauncey. They wanted to play. I offered to, get them in. Every one of them, to their credit, they donated.
Oh wow!
I offered to just get them in, slip them on in, put them on a foursome, and be done with it. We oversold out last year, so we want at least 100 players, and that's what we're looking for. So your listeners and viewers, anything they can do, if they play golf, they want to support. If they don't play golf, but they want to donate, they can just go to myfamilymattersfoundation.org. My Family Matters Foundation, all one word. Also, on the homepage of big1059.com, iHeartRadio has been absolutely awesome. They've got.
They weren't so great to us.
I knew you were going to say something. That's just let them have.
I mean, that was okay. We had a nice run there, but
They had that had nothing to do with me, brother.
No, I know you were not a part of that. We never hold the people that are behind the scenes there actually performing responsible. I mean, it's not usually the way that goes out. All right, so how do people enter, Doc Reno?
I was going to say this is not a iHeart event per se.
Yeah. No, it's good they're helping out. No, you deserve it. I mean, you deserve all the help. This is as noble. You make Lubie and I feel ashamed that we're freebie artists and mostly just in this for whatever we can get, from people for nothing. And here you are giving back and making this kind of an effort. And I mean, that's why we love you. And but we can never be like that, which is unfortunate for us. I mean, as much as we would like to, and you really do it. So we would be willing to help in any way possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you can count on us. Yeah, and we're in 100%.
We got a month. Yeah, we got a month. So spread the word. And if you have any celebrity friends that appear on your show, and they happen to be.
I was going to dig up Rick Shaw's body, and have him rolling around on a golf cart like it was Weekend at Bernie's.
Well, you're the worst.
He had a lot of fans. I mean, he really did. Maybe Rick Weaver too. Anybody named Rick that passed away that was in the business, we'll bring him on out there. No, it's great. It's really good. I mean, you reminded me of a great football quote. Just to bring it back to our pregame shows. Jerry Glanville, when you were talking about this guy from Shark Tank. With the wife and the girlfriend. And that was one of his famous quotes. He said, I opened up training camp and I told the players, to make it more comfortable, you can bring your wives and your girlfriends to practice. And unfortunately, a lot of them were bringing both. Doc, we love you, man. Good luck with this thing. Come back on, as many times as you like before we get this on the way. Yeah, that'll be great.
Love you.
We love talking to you anyway. Yeah.
I know I appreciate the time on the air. I miss you guys very much. So hopefully you can make it.
We'll be out
okay. Yeah. Are our names ever mentioned in a favorable light down there, even after a couple of years out of the building, or in a? No.
Always. Would you like me to talk to Miss Grace Blazer for you?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure she would be amenable to the idea of our return. That would be. I would imagine that's right there on her desk right now as one of the top priorities today, right underneath where she's having lunch. Yeah.
Maybe on Sundays only. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe we could buy some time after the fishing show and put the trivia show back on.
My God.
All right, Doc, we love you, man, and keep it going, man. You're a great American, and what you described obviously was very awesome, and anything we can do to help out, and we'll continue to remind our listeners and viewers that this is happening, and we would do anything we could. I'm not sure exactly. I think Friday we're out doing a remote, but we'll do everything we can to participate as well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're half full now, so they have time to buy and sponsor.
Okay, we'll get it done, man. We'll get you about $50,000 for that hospital. Thanks, appreciate it, Doc Reno. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, see you guys. Talk to you soon.
Doc Reno, ladies and gentlemen. Well, what a disgrace we are, Lubie.
Horrible.
Maybe someday you'll have time. I would have wanted to do this, like a Defo Foundation or something. But it would have been mostly to finance my episodes at various racetracks, including this Friday, opening day at Keeneland, which I'm a big fan of. Yeah, but I mean, this guy really does it, man. And I remember when he had cancer, he had dropped a bunch of weight, and he, was very concerned. And this stuff can hit you in a variety of ways, and at any time. A buddy of mine that I was involved with, for many, many years, and was a great guy, and still is, has been battling some form of, I think it might be, can you get kidney cancer? Is that possible?
Maybe.
Kidneys?
I've never really heard it, but maybe.
I don't know. Pancreatic. Pancreatic is like a death sentence usually.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, that's what my grandfather was.
He's got something, that they're working on, and then all of a sudden, it was just hospitalized Sunday, and I mean, it wasn't looking so great. So it can happen anytime, man. So Doc Reno gets afflicted with it, and look what he does.
Something good, positive, only Doc.
All right, yeah, great guy, man. We'll get you details on that golf tournament. I mean, a lot of people like to. I always enjoyed it. Anytime somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, I like what you do," or "You're Defo," or this or that, believe me, everybody digs that kind of stuff.
I'm hoping
and is appreciated.
To strong arm you and Mayo. I was thinking of doing the show there, but I don't think how that's going to work.
Mayo should definitely play, man. He still golfs.
What I'm thinking is, the problem is they start at 1 and we don't leave goals.
Yeah.
But
the back nine, Mayo.
Us heading out there and hanging out and just greeting people and saying what's up, and there's food and drinks, and it's like,
where's it going to be at? Do we know? Jacaranda? Is that
Pembroke Lakes Golf Club or Pembroke Lakes Country Club, which actually isn't that far.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's on the way home from the track.
So what I'm thinking is it's actually worth it to do the show and then head back over there. And anyone who wants to get involved, again, myfamilyfoundation.org, check it out. It's a really, Devo didn't make it, but I went last year at the end, and they do raffles, and they have, aside their silent auction is utterly ridiculous between musical art, like there's Ed Sheeran signed
Nico McBrain and Carmine App. Is it a piece? Is that how he pronounces it? I always thought it was Appice, but
no more than me.
I've seen different pronunciations. It's kind of like Tony Dorsett, where you're like, I always call you Tony Dorsett, and the guy says it's Dorset.
Yeah, of course.
You're saying, okay, Dorset. Right? Yeah, I mean, the guy just gives it to you. But Carmen Vanilla Fudge, right? Carmen Appice.
Yes.
Set me free, why don't you, babe? I told you the story. They were managed by a guy who had like an aluminum siding business and maybe some connections to some families in New York that lived across the street from me. Essentially, was my neighbor, but it was we both lived on the corner, so he was across the street, and he ended up managing Vanilla Fudge from owning a piece of this place called the Action House on Long Island, which was a very popular club, and Vanilla Fudge was the house band there. So he ended up managing them, and went literally from like having like some truck parked outside his house with aluminum siding painted on the side, Phil's aluminum siding, to being one of the leading guys. Where I think he eventually got popped in some kind of mob scheme or whatever that is, and it might not have worked out as well for him in the end, but. That was kind of weird, right? Because here's Carmine Appice, Vanilla Fudge, and they just had that hit come out shortly after this, which, to this day, right? Can't you hear it in your head, Lubie? Set me free.
There's been a number of movies. Yeah, that's definitely a classic.
Doc Reno makes us look like a disgrace, though.
This is like his third foundation. He used to do something to help out firefighters and their families after they were injured, which I didn't even consider. And now this, which helps out the families of insurance, if it covers everything, which it doesn't. Definitely now that you've used all your money for bills, it doesn't cover that. So this is a really good cause. And only Doc would think of this. It's a great cause. The golf tournament's a lot of fun. It's all day. There's a lot of people you grew up with.
There's good guys out there.
Still involved now.
Yeah, good people.
TV, radio. So you should check it out and play if you love golf. It's definitely worth it. And all of our friends, I need to start reaching out to some people and see if they want to play, because it's definitely something that is.
I played Pembroke Lakes many years ago when it first.
It's a lot of fun. It's a really good time.
All right. They have trees there now, or is it still like looking like it was developed on the scorched earth theory? Trees, Pembroke Lakes golf course. I think they were relatively treeless because it was like a new course. This is talking 40 years ago when I was playing golf, which I was obsessed. So I played every day, and I tried to play virtually every course, right? And it was near Hollywood Lakes, was it not? Hollywood Lakes, which became Grand Palms.
No clue.
Or Grand Palm. I'm not sure. And it might not be Grand Palm. It's Grand something. And no, Grand Oaks is the place that what was the former place where they shot Caddyshack, wasn't it? Grand Oaks used to be called something else. Began with an R. Anyway, I used to know all of these courses and have a pretty good concept of what was going on. But golf off the table for me. Mayo could play though, no doubt.
I'm hoping to bring Mayo and you can just say hello to everybody, and Mayo can.
I wouldn't mind meeting a few people there, and I really like that whole crew, right? And I'm not getting any younger, right? So the chances of seeing these guys in one place again are growing slimmer. And so, in fact, the chances of seeing any of these guys again, right? That thing, you ever see that that little pamphlet they had from WIOD? They were putting out like a WIOD magazine, and they ran out of guys to feature from the other shows, so they featured the sports department. And of the 7 guys in the picture, 5 are already gone, right?
Jesus. Oh, God.
Rick Weaver, gone. Hank, gone. Sonny, gone. Who else was in there? Mad Dog, gone. Yeah, so I think there were 6 guys, and Joe Zagacki, he nearly ate it in a plane crash.
Early on, yeah.
And, I might be, had that happen, I'd be the last surviving member.
Oh, God.
Which is a little scary, is it not? When all the other guys are, passed away, many by, either, unfortunate health incidents like with Mad Dog or by natural causes late in life.
Yep,
Unbelievable. So, I mean, good thing Doc Reno's doing. We're a disgrace, Louis. So we should get out of here.
100% are. So I will get it. I will be there. Hopefully I can get you and Mayo to go.
Yeah, we got to get Mayo out there. I'll say that I'm going to join you, but you know how I am.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
So I would
Last
like
minute, I might think, hey, you know what? Isn't today the Kentucky Oaks?
Exactly.
And I'm going to be schlepping around some golf course. No, and I would be happy to do it to help Doc Reno out. All right, we'll see you later on, 12 o'clock today. Rickett cheesesteaks today, right?
Mike Mayo's Lunchbox today, our monthly trot to Wicked Cheesesteaks. Brian,
oh, great
job, and I'm super stoked. I really love getting out there.
See what's happening, man. I guess we get to sample the Defo.
Your sandwich.
The new sandwich. Yeah. I would have to say I didn't have a lot to do with its development, and I will be trying it for the first time. But nonetheless, I'm very proud that it's doing well. I think the concept was that Brian wanted to have a sandwich named the Defo that he knew was going to be popular.
Yes.
Yeah, and he probably had a lot of people asking him, "Hey, can you do this?"
Yep.
And so it's what is it on a Kaiser roll? It's a fresh baked roll. Yeah, that they do there themselves,
Yes.
and it's got like cheesesteak elements to it. No?
Yes, it's like a Philly cheesesteak, but on a roll. And I think there's a little bit of a difference, and people are buying hand over fist.
Right, because there's always the issue of the bread, whether people like this type of bread or that type of bread. Like with these various. I tell you what, the guy does a great job there. I really dig Wicked Cheesesteaks. I'm looking forward to being there.
Yeah, I'm super stoked.
Later on today. All right, so we'll be there at 12 o'clock with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Thanks to the people on the show. Tony, hopefully be back with us very soon. Had a few things to attend to on a personal note. So I guess, it included maybe that interview with Zelensky. As to what he thought about the Canes making the Final Four. Did he go all the way to the Ukraine to do that, or did Zelensky sneak into the country in behind the Trump motorcade yesterday that was taking him to court?
No idea.
Imagine this is the difference in leaders, right? One guy's out there leading, a country in an impossible war to win, and doing his best, and the other guy's going to court because he paid off some porn star. And we're supposed to be the country that has it together.
Greatest country.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I love this.
I will see you next time as we leave you on that.
The time.
It's 9:18.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.